Right, good afternoon ladies and gentlemen. It's been an exciting week or more here in Blackpool. The last two matches, final matches, the matches that are now on: ladies single final, best out of 15, and the final, the men's single final, best out of 21 frames. Let's start off with the ladies single final. The referee for the match, give it up for Richard Rhodes. And the timekeeper, Mr. Matt Ward. The contestants of the ladies single final, as I said, best out of 15 frames, from England, give it up for Sharon James. And seed number 2 from England, a warm welcome to Barbara Taylor. And now, men's singles final, best out of 21, referee George Bradbury. And the timekeeper, Tony Coe. The contestants for the men's single final this afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Seed number 2 from England, give it up for Phil Harrison. And the opponent, the defending world champion from England, Mick Hill. Referees, begin the games.
Good afternoon and a very warm welcome to the Imperial Hotel in Blackpool for continued coverage of the 2018 World 8-Ball Pool Championships. This is the event that everybody's waiting for. It's finals day today, and we have up one of the greatest finals of recent times, the men's individual final between Mick Hill and Phil Harrison. A rerun, of course, of last year's final, high quality affair in which Hill prevailed. Will the 2009 world champion Phil Harrison get his own back? I'm Mark Shepherd. I'm delighted to be joined once again in the commentary box by David Veary for what promises to be a cracker, I hope.
Absolutely, looking forward to this. The two favourites have reached the final for the second year in a row, so they should be good. But this year is slightly different because it's the first time, possibly ever, that they've played the final on a 7-foot table. I don't know how long the 8-foot table's been around, but we've now gone on to the 7-foot table format, which personally I prefer. At the end of the day, you play your pool all your life on these 7-foot tables, so it just seems fair that you play the final on the same table. They're straight in that, no time wasting. Mick to break. Be interesting to see how many breaking dishes happen in this final. Oh, he's a bit unlucky that.
Well, it won't be this one. Yeah, but that's going to be an important factor. Mick Hill is renowned as pretty much the best break builder in the world at the moment, if not of all time. He's going to be prolific at clearing from the break. Phil Harrison's not far behind, but has a more balanced all-round game. He's a bit happy to mix it up. I don't think we'll see too much tactical play, but to the extent we do, it's Phil that'll probably be more happy to play that kind of game.
Absolutely. And I think both have gone into this final with relatively comfortable semi-final, quarter-final wins, so they're both fresh.
Yeah, I commentated on the match yesterday between Mick Hill and Eddie Barker. And Eddie didn't really do that much wrong, he just didn't have many chances. Only secured 3 frames, I think, in the end.
I saw his comments on Facebook and he sort of said fair play. He said possibly he could have won 2 more frames, but that was about it. So I think was it 10-3 he lost, I think?
Yeah, and I think that is probably a pretty good summary of it. There were 2 frames when he had some kind of opportunity, but I mean he didn't make a terrible mess even of those ones, but that was about all he could have done differently. Yes, just looking at my notes from yesterday, 10-3 in the end. Mick had 3 clearances off his own break and 1 off Eddie's break. And a lot of other first visit clearances once there'd been a brief exchange, so it was pretty fearsome stuff.
It's a great double there from Phil Harrison straight away. Now, I believe Phil's won this World Championship twice.
I want to say once. I think 2009 he won it.
Mick Hill's won it 3 times, I think, hasn't he?
Yeah, Phil's been around or thereabouts for a very long time. Funnily enough, this feels like a final that could have been on 10-15 years ago. These players have been at the top of the game for so long. So Phil Harrison making pretty light work so far of the Reds. Important for him to get off to a good start, and the same applies to both players, but I think Mick Hill's the more likely to rush off into a lead and then disappear off into the sunset.
Absolutely. Doesn't seem to be anything different left on this table, to be fair.
Slight contrast in styles. Phil Harrison has always just made the game look really easy. Like, you'll see half the clearances he'll play, you'll look at them and think, well, that was an easy clearance, but he's very precise, just keeps everything very simple. Mick, kind of the same, but a bit more flamboyant, probably takes on a few more long shots in the course of a clearance.
It's always a sign of a good player, though, if you can make it look simple all the time.
Isn't it just? I mean, Phil Harrison is literally the best example you will ever see of keeping a pool game simple, but doing it through his own quality. It's no luck involved.
So, because Mick was unlucky off the break, because it was a good break, but then yellow kissed his white into the middle bag, and you can't account for that, unfortunately. It's a little bit far there, but he's fine, so he's just going to knock this in, take a 1-0 lead, and then he's got the break in the second frame. Good opportunity to get an early lead in this match. I believe it's first to 11 this final.
Yeah, best of 21 frames the final. Good start from Phil Harrison, gets the first frame on the board. And only needs 1 opportunity to do it.
There'll be a break after 10 frames, I believe, so both players will want to get at least 5 all at that stage, at the very worst.
So this is the first time we're streaming the men's and ladies finals in parallel. Got 2 stream tables in this arena, the same arena we've had set up all week. Just see in the background there Barbara Taylor standing next to the referee Richard Rhodes for the ladies match. She's taking on Sharon James at the moment. Two top players who are yet to win the world title. They've both been knocking on the door and they've both been to finals before.
And in the crowd you can see Amy Beecham, who got beaten in the semi-finals yesterday by Sharon, 7 frames to 6.
Yeah, it was
next to Carl Sutton there.
It was an epic finish. Amy did well to come back into that match, and Sharon had to pot a difficult long red to keep her hopes alive. She absolutely nailed it. Won that 7-6 in the decider. Phil Harrison came through a reasonably tough workout against Josh Kane. I was commentating on the other match, so I didn't see much of that, but by all accounts both players played pretty well in that. Josh Kane's a pretty attacking player and brought a lot of flamboyance to the match. Ultimately Harrison's experience shone through though.
I sort of feel for Josh because he's had a bit of a coming of age this year, because he got to the semis of this tournament and he also got to the quarterfinals of the World Masters, which he'll be pleased with both, but I'm sure he would have been desperate to get into one of the finals.
Yeah, although he has won the World Masters previously, so he's got that trophy in his cabinet at least. But yeah, he's had a very strong run recently. Number of promising juniors coming through. We saw the junior and under-23 finals earlier on today. I was commentating on the junior final. That was a very high standard of play. See, the referee George Bradbury just tapped the table there. Phil Harrison's hard of hearing, so wouldn't necessarily hear the normal time call. So the players have a 60-second time limit with the referee warning them when there's 30 seconds remaining. So Phil's asked that the referee tap the table instead of shouting it out.
So there's a few balls down the bottom cushion there that Phil's going to have to sort out if he wants to clear up and do a break and dish. 30 seconds just been called there. It's quite handy for us actually to have the tap of the table there, because at least we know when the 30 seconds has been called.
Yeah, our commentary box set a little away from the table, just in the room behind the one that you're looking at, so we can't always hear what's happening out in the arena. Although, generally when something good happens, we can definitely hear the shouts through the wall. Certainly in the team matches earlier on, saw England win a real nail-biter. They were behind all the way to Wales before eventually prevailing 11-10.
Yeah, Wales played really well, didn't they? But then, to be fair, England played really well at the end. And now we've got an all-England men's and ladies final as well.
Yeah, England being the dominant team in this event for the entire history of it since it started in the early 90s. But Wales not far behind. They've always got a wealth of talent. I really enjoyed watching Wales the whole way through
Very
the
quick
tournament.
They played, didn't they? Very attacking.
Yeah, I mean, it was just how you would want pool to be played. It's a really difficult situation, this. The referee, they've agreed that the referee will tap the table on 30 seconds regardless if the player is playing a shot. And you saw there Phil Harrison was down playing a shot. And it sort of seems instinctively a bit odd seeing someone go and touch the table when the player's
It's just the
in
risk he's
action.
got to take, but I suppose he's always been used to it, so referee's moving whilst he's playing the shot. It's just part and parcel of the game for him. Now, does he have the angle here to sort of split those balls up? It looks like he might do. He's having a look. If he doesn't, he can set himself up with a better angle, because it looks like that red goes past the yellow into the middle pocket. So it looks like he's giving himself a better angle here. How's his angle there? Does need a bit of luck here as well. You can't guarantee exactly where the ball's going to finish when you try and split the balls up like this. But he has got the safety net as well of that red, as you can see. He's eyed up to see if it goes in the right-hand middle pocket, and clearly it does. So great opportunity here for Phil Harrison. Build up a 2-0 lead.
Goes without saying that Phil would be keen to win at this visit, not just to get a second frame on the board, but to keep the pressure on Mick.
It clearly cuts into the corner pocket. It's difficult to tell from this angle where it did.
Yes, I mean, you would
Now
say.
he's got to hope he doesn't double kiss the black, and the black just stays stuck on that cushion.
I think there's a real risk of that. It's a decision as to how hard you play it. You don't want the black running away too far, but if you play it too gently, that's definitely the risk. Oh, I was going to say, what a great shot, but no, the red's jawed.
I think he was slightly worried there. That's why he tried to pinch an inch on the pocket to get that black to come out exactly as he wanted to.
He played that cannon so well. You can see he would have been perfect on the black if the red had dropped.
I think if he potted it normally, that probably would have just double kissed and left the black there. So he took a bit of a gamble there.
So first look at Mick Hill.
That's why I was surprised that Phil didn't try and split those balls up with the previous two shots there, rather than leaving it as the last shot. So a reprieve for Mick Hill. Try and take the pocket. He didn't really want that ball to drop, but he's still in a good position here.
Yeah, well thought through shot that. And some players would have just gone and immediately played the snooker, but he played it in such a positive way. He was looking to either open up or cover that pocket as well as get the snooker. Don't think he's quite cleared the pocket enough for the black to be potable. Obviously that's a fair way off anyway, because he's got these two yellows tied up. May look to bump one of the yellows out whilst playing a snooker behind the other one.
Shows exactly what he's trying to do here.
Not the ideal position this for Phil. His options are pretty limited.
The one cushion out from going to the top cushion and back doesn't seem on because that yellow in the middle is covering that angle. He's now seeing if he can use the right-hand cushion with lots of right-hand side to bring the white back in between the yellow and the black to hit the red.
Yeah, if the black wasn't there, massaging off the right-hand cushion with the right-hand side would be quite a good option, but a pretty small gap behind the black. May decide just to play a deliberate foul and tie things up. The problem is if he goes for this escape and he misses it, he's going to leave Mick bang in amongst the balls with 2 shots, which is definitely not something he wants to do. This is a 1, 2, 3, 4 cushions.
Yeah. Doesn't seem strong enough. Hasn't quite got the angle either.
It's a big difference if that goes in. Yeah.
Oh, he wanted that to stop.
If that stopped, that would have been just about okay. But this is, you would have to feel all over now. It's like Mick may be considering playing this yellow off the red to get the pocket fully opened up. Doesn't need to do that, of course, but
that's a brave shot, isn't it? But it just shows how he thinks about the game here.
I would say that red is a little bit close to the cushion. If it was a little bit higher up, this would be easier. Yeah, I think he's sensibly talked himself out of that one. It's not really necessary given that he's got the 2 shots. He's always going to be able to do something.
Clearly the black doesn't go past the red, so he's got two balls to sort of think about, and that's why he may go for the similar shot now. He may try and pop that yellow and just clip off the red. But he needs to hit it at a fair pace at that angle to actually get the red out of the way.
That's the problem. He'd have to hit it quite hard, and that could change the angle.
No, he's leaving it. But now he's got a nice angle.
Yeah, but if
Follow
he just
through, just nudge the black out, leave himself on that yellow on the cushion for the bottom right-hand pocket. He looks fine there. That nearly went wrong, but yeah, he's in perfect position now.
nicely judged shot. He was having to play it with a fair amount of side to hold the white. So in absolutely prime position now. And this is a salutary lesson to what happens if you miss at any stage in a clearance. Mick Hill's always there waiting.
Both players will be happy they've got a frame on the board now. I think any final you play, you don't feel you're in that final until you've got that first frame on the board.
Yeah, very much so. And from a neutral point of view, that should light up the final. Both players can play with a degree of freedom now. Big moment, of course, for the referee as well, George Bradbury. The main job this week has been in one of pretty hot and humid conditions, getting the ball set up so they're touching.
Frame 3, Mick to break, 1 frame all. Time running.
So Mick Hill to get us underway in the third frame. The score is currently tied at 1 apiece.
So there's the white ball, straight in. This time that was an unforced error because he didn't kiss in at all this time. Unlike the first frame where he was unlucky.
Yeah, it's not very often you say that after 2 of Mick Hill's breaks that he's been in off on both of them. So another very presentable opportunity for Phil. Bit of congestion around the black, but all the balls spaced out a bit, so there is room to work. Probably make a case for either colour. The reds on the face of it seem to be the more open ones, but actually I think you can get to all of the yellow.
Yeah, because I think the yellow by the black goes into the bottom left-hand corner as we see it. The one just below the black goes in the top left-hand corner as we see it. So yes, whichever one he fancies really, but he's definitely going for reds here.
Only one shot, of course, when you go in off the break, so he's going to have to get this done the hard way.
Is he going to take this tricky red down cushion first? He's got 2 options here. Was he eyeing up a plant into the middle pocket after putting this? Looking at the options available to him anyway.
Yeah, normally likes to give it proper thought at the beginning of the clearance, then he tends to speed up as he figures out his path. More so than pretty much anyone in the game, he's a man that always plays the right shot. Completely unfazed, as you say, the fact that he's been used to this tapping on the table for some time as a way of signalling the time, he looks completely unfazed by it. Such a lovely guy, Phil Harrison. Always a pleasure talking to him, and one of those players that everyone wants to will on to do well. So that's handy. Picked out a nice plant through to the middle. That's opened things up a bit. Still got a bit to do though. The red that's next to the yellow is a little bit of a problem.
He wanted ideally to put that red in the same middle pocket, but which I think it does go, but from that angle he's going to lose the white, so he's going to plan B now.
It also looks like he may end up playing a cannon on the yellow and putting this ball, so he's got to be careful where that goes. Not the tallest player, so negotiating himself into position here.
Make sure the waistcoat doesn't hit the yellow. Looks quite close to it. Referee having a close look. Well, that yellow is a little bit closer to the pocket he wanted there. He wanted a thicker contact. I think because he was stretching, he didn't stun it as much as he'd hoped for there.
Yeah, he was always going to hit that yellow. It's just a question of where it went. So now he's got a couple of problems. Look at whether that goes round the yellow. You wouldn't feel it did from there. And this is where 60 seconds isn't always enough. When you're playing a normal clearance, it's more than enough, but there's actually a lot to think about with this shot. It's got the red and the yellow together in the middle aren't perfect, and this one on the nearest the bottom right is a real problem.
I think he's going to try and see if he can squeeze the pocket here. He's not 100% convinced he can, but doesn't have a whole lot of other options.
So I'm not 100% he can, but it's surprising. You can often get balls through further than you expect. Yeah, that's a good shot.
He'll be happy with that. Although he would have wanted to clear up at that stage. But he's still got control of the table at this stage.
So, Mick Hill faced with not the ideal position. May feel he needs to lock things up by pushing this yellow even closer to the red, although he'll be reluctant to do that because that's putting himself in trouble. He's got the long yellow to the top right hand corner pocket if he wants to take that
sneak
first.
Behind one of the two yellows. He's got a few options, hasn't he? Depends if he wants to tie that. It doesn't look like he wants to tie that yellow, as you mentioned earlier.
No, he's a pretty attacking player. Instinctively he'd prefer not to tie anything up.
See him tapping behind that yellow now.
Two shots would be useful to him, although it's not going to be that easy to obtain, I don't think. So he's going to run off the one near the pocket and try and hide behind the other one.
He's got to get this right though. Left hand side just to get behind that yellow.
Yeah, there's actually a fair bit of distance. It's not. That's a good shot. That was a more difficult shot than it looked. That wasn't just a natural angle where he was always going to end up there.
He wanted to get right close up to it so he didn't give Phil Harrison the one cushion escape for the red in the middle pocket. He hit it softly to make sure that Phil Harrison couldn't just tap behind the yellow because Mick's left that yellow over the bag for a deliberate foul.
Yeah, that's an important point. Having the one over the bag changes the options. So Phil coming off one cushion just to hit the one near the bottom left-hand corner pocket.
He's going to want to make sure he just hits it softly because he doesn't want Mick to be able to cross-double that yellow back into the bottom right pocket, bottom left-hand pocket. He's played that well.
Yeah, he's definitely covered off that possibility. This is the problem. It's not as simple as just snookering him. He's such a good player out of snookers that you've got to get a really good snooker if you're going to stop him hitting anything. So Harrison still with the advantage, although it's Hill at the table at the moment. It's only that one yellow that doesn't go, but it's now in a tricky place. The double is no longer an option.
30 seconds.
That's why Mick snooker, he wants to get tight up to that yellow, not to give Phil that easy opportunity to get out. That's a great pot.
Yeah, made it look like it was over the pocket. Not necessarily going to go for a clearance here, but wasn't in the
Yellow
perfect.
down the bottom is still the trouble ball, isn't it?
Yeah.
He's got the angle to manoeuvre it, but where does it go to? Maybe he wants to push it onto the cushion, so then it cuts down the cushion, but he's got to be careful he doesn't hit it thin and put the red instead.
Yeah, it'd be a pretty aggressive shot to play that, but then at the same time, when you're not in a great position, sometimes you've got to take the ball by the horns because you're going to lose the frame anyway.
Yeah.
What's difficult, if he's looking at playing it off this one, he's going to have to play it off two cushions. It's difficult to judge. The first cushion, the ball tends to come off pretty square, but then sometimes the side takes more effect off the second one, so it's harder to judge.
He's been very unlucky there.
Yeah, that was a good effort.
He wants to hit it thicker. He actually hit it harder than I thought he was, so he's actually trying to get the yellow back up the top of the table.
It shows the vision of the man, though. Not everybody would have been looking to play that shot at that point. Some people would have just tried to play another snooker. He realised that was becoming a bit futile, so decided to go for something more attacking. Fortunately for him, though, he's got himself into a snooker, and he's also now moved the yellow that was slightly protecting the red over the bottom right. So all of Phil's balls now in pretty open positions. It's not really good enough just to get out of this snooker because it's going to be hard to do it in a way that doesn't leave a shot at something.
That's me, I'd probably just hit it hard and hope that some of the balls go safe somewhere, which is exactly what he did, but hit it a bit too hard. He's jumped over the ball. That would have been a foul anyway if he hit that yellow.
Yeah.
Because he jumped right over that yellow. But yeah, he was just hoping that he would manage to put the black safe or one of Phil's red safe there. Hasn't worked out. So yet again, looks like we're going to have a break of serve, and Phil's got 2 shots to go, 2 frames to 1 up. So I was expecting a lot of breaking dishes, but so far every game's gone against the break.
Yeah, not helped by the fact that Mick's been in off both of his breaks.
It's landed a little bit awkward, but he won't mind too much. He's just got to roll this red into the corner pocket.
Does that other red go to the top left-hand corner?
Even if you can see it. Difficult to tell from there, but we'll see what he does. No, clearly he doesn't. Otherwise he would play it.
So the luxury of 2 shots means that there's not really very much pressure on this. Could in fact get it through to the middle. That looks very tight. Pick that angle out nicely. Just this simple black to go. So as you say, everything's gone against the serve so far. It's Phil Harrison 2, Mick Hill 1.
And Phil's got yet another opportunity to try and break and dish to start building up a small lead in the early part of this final.
Yeah, and I think that's going to be important to try to get some kind of lead. Most people when they play Mick Hill just struggle to get him under any pressure. There just aren't many people in the world who are good enough to have him under sustained pressure. He's only human though. If you can get up a few frames against him, he's going to be feeling it a bit.
Frame 4 felt the break, leading 2 frames to 1. Time running.
If you're just joining us, you're watching live coverage of the 2018 World Championship final between Mick Hill and Phil Harrison. And it's Phil Harrison to break off in frame 4, leading by 2 frames to 1. Well, that didn't look the best split, did it?
Quickly counting the balls. Dry break.
Seemed to get a fair bit of power into that, but the balls didn't really move very much.
He might be having a close look at the pack next time he breaks off, just to make sure the referee's got all the balls tight on there.
Yeah, it's a difficult job for the referees, particularly in these unseasonably hot and humid conditions in Blackpool this week. Very important though, because a dry break at a lower level, it doesn't necessarily make much difference, but when you're playing Mick Hill, a dry break can be the difference between winning and losing the match. Mick Hill, slightly rueful look at the table, doesn't really like what he's been left with, but be happy enough to be at the table at least.
Yeah, a bit of work here to be done. So he's going to try and cut this red in the corner bag, is he?
Well, a bit of work to be done. He's done quite a lot of the work there. He's moved a couple of the difficult ones.
It's got to be tight. If it looks tight, it probably means that red that he's looking at probably does just drop into the bottom left-hand corner. Because you can always cheat the pocket a little bit.
So not a bad opportunity. Yellow is also a bit tied up, so not so much pressure. Although he saw what happened when he got into a tactical exchange with Phil a moment ago. He doesn't really want to do that again.
That's a nice shot.
Mick's positional play so far in this tournament has been absolutely exemplary. He always seems to be within half an inch of where he wants to be. Makes the game look very easy. Makes it look easy in a slightly different way from Phil. Slightly more expansive game, but just always seems to be in prime position, and whenever he plays a cannon it seems to turn out perfectly.
Let's see what he does here. He's got a couple of options here. He could try and kiss onto the black as a stopper. Didn't have that angle. So he's going to move, pot these two hopefully on the right hand side first, then come back to the two on the left hand side of the table. He wanted to be really straight there, because that red on the cushion is a tricky little pot. He might opt to double it now instead of rolling it down the cushion.
Yeah, rolling it down the cushion affords reasonably good position for where he needs to be next, but as you say, with any kind of angle it's just a bit too difficult, but potentially as a pot.
It's all going to come down possibly again to that red by the yellow that he's been looking at since the start.
So he's going to drop it up the cushion. That red was straight enough. It's actually quite useful, although it's slightly more difficult, the pot with an angle. At least now the cue ball's coming a little bit off the cushion. He's obviously concerned that this red is tight, so he doesn't want awkward cueing as well for it.
He wants this white to be as close as possible to the right hand cushion to give himself an angle just to roll it in and move across to the other red. Has he landed too straight? No, he's okay there. He's done a little apology. Don't know why he's apologised there. That was a good shot, I thought. It took a while to drop.
Yeah, I was going to say, I don't know if he was apologising. He did. It was slightly wide. I think maybe he thought he'd missed it. He still doesn't look entirely happy with this shot. This is obviously very tight.
Wasn't tight at all in the end. That's a great shot.
Yeah, I think with those ones you just have to make up your mind whether it goes or not, and if you've convinced yourself it does, you just have to play it properly.
That's why he wanted a bit of an angle, because then he didn't have to screw back off 3 cushions to get onto this red. He dealt with it very well. Nice little cannon onto the yellow, and back to 2 frames all. 4 breaks of serve.
Classic example of a difficult clearance made to look very easy. Quality stuff from Mick Hill as he levels the match up.
So we'll see how Mick decides to break this time, as he's scratched on both breaks so far.
Yes, you would think differently from the last 2. Although, as you say, the first one he was kicked in, so that wasn't really his fault. The last one he just screwed it straight back into one of the corner pockets.
But he'll be very happy, Mick, with a 2-all at this stage, because in all 4 frames, Phil's had first go at the table. So normally when that happens, you'd expect Phil to be 3-1 or 4-0 up. So I think Mick will be very pleased to beat level peggings at this stage.
Yeah, definitely. I think he'll be the happier of the two players with the scoreline. Phil had a good opportunity to go a bit further ahead. Hasn't done a lot wrong though. It's been decent standard so far from both players. Getting through the frames at a lively pace as well. 4 frames played of a total 21 possible. There's still some pool being played. Behind the seating here is the rest of what has been the main arena all week, so there's still a few tables in play. A couple of them were removed this morning to add a bit of extra seating. There's also audience sitting to the left and the right of the table, so there's a few more people than you'd think from seeing this camera angle. Not the best split. Mick didn't go and look at the pack, but I think again that wasn't. It didn't look like the tightest rack, did it?
I think it went down, but at least Phil hasn't got a ball in hand this time, so it's a minor improvement on the first 2 breaks.
It's not very often that Mick has 3 consecutive breaks and doesn't put anything on stay at the table for any of them.
We're definitely not troubling the statistician on the breaking dish stats at the moment.
No.
But Phil doesn't seem to fancy the challenge here too much either. It's a lot of all the balls bar one have managed to stay in the bottom side of the table.
No, the difficulty as well is that there's no easy starting ball, so he's going to be faced with something a bit tricky, whichever one he goes for. The only one that's hanging over a pocket is the one bottom right, but he can't really get to the cue ball to play it.
This is missable. Very well there.
Be pleased to have secured the yellows. Well, in fact, both colours are pretty good, but the yellow's probably slightly easier.
He's actually landed perfect on that yellow by the red into the middle pocket, which was actually one of the trouble balls, so he couldn't have played that any better.
It's one of those kind of fiddly clearances where the balls are kind of all there, but you've just got to spend a bit of thought getting the white around in the right areas. He's normally pretty good at this. Like, position is his forte. He's never really out of position. He's going to need to call on those skills here, though.
Yeah, he's going to need a couple of little just cannons to get position, because the yellow he's closest to at the moment, I don't believe goes past the red. He might just drop this in and then pop the yellow in the opposite yellow pocket.
Yeah, it's
the angle.
a very precise positional shot there. He wanted to stop the white dead. He's got the angle to do that. I think that's probably the sensible option, because at least that way he guarantees to give himself a shot at it. If he tries to get clever and move this red out of the way, it might get in the way of something else. Still then the issue, the yellow just above the black, although it is accessible, it's not accessible from everywhere. He's got to be in the right position for it. Can't really tell that much from his demeanour about whether this is a good or a bad position. He habitually walks around shaking his head when he's playing. Often that can mean he's in prime position. Oh, I think he's overdone that.
A little bit further he wants to, but actually he's now going to try and pop this, leaving himself an angle, and cannon onto the red by the black to open up that yellow.
He was unquestionably trying to run through. He was never leaving it straight, because he went round to look at that cannon before he played it. I think that's fine, actually. Just wants a fullish cannon on the red.
Oh, he's forgot the pot as well, which is why he didn't quite get the cannon as he wanted to. So again, Phil's not managed to clear up when he's been going for the dish at this stage.
Yeah, forgetting the pot is a dangerous thing to do against me.
Those are the 2 reds. It looks like it might cannon, kiss onto the yellow to go into the pocket, makes it a big pocket. So we'll see what he tries to do. He's got a few options here, but Mick will be delighted to have another chance here.
Yeah, Phil needs to stop this kind of thing, because consistency is normally his hallmark. That's not gone quite right for Mick. Trying to cannon those 2 reds into a better position. He's got one of them into a better position, but the other one is now much worse. Referee just asking for Mick Hill just asking the referee for a timeout. The player on the neighbouring table in the ladies' final was just in his way, so didn't want that coming out of his time limit. Referee for this match, George Bradbury, in the timekeeper Tony Coe.
30 seconds. 30 seconds.
Sterling job done by the referees all week. I don't think I'd fancy being out there in a dinner jacket in this kind of weather.
No, absolutely. That's why I've never wanted to be a referee, because they always have to wear dicky bow tie and everything else, and that's just not me. I struggle playing in a waistcoat as it is,
Yes.
having to wear a jacket all week long.
You've adopted a slightly more casual attire for the commentary.
Absolutely.
Off camera you can do what you like.
Of course, we're both wearing shirt and ties for this final, aren't we?
Absolutely. This is only appropriate. So,
So he's going to try exactly where Mick is. He's going to try and screw across to take the tricky red on the left-hand cushion into the bottom right-hand pocket. He's got to be careful. This has got to be exact. Probably wants to be a little... Yeah, he's not happy with that.
I mean, that was a narrow gap to land in. He's actually not played it that badly, but even there is no give to him.
I think he was concerned that if he got too close to the yellow, he would have done a foul. So it's a natural thing to try and play err on the side of caution.
The only good thing here is that he can just afford to concentrate on cutting it along the cushion, and if it drops, that's fine, and if it doesn't drop, that's kind of fine as well, as long as he at least gets it to the pocket. And because he doesn't need to worry too much about position, the cue ball's naturally going to be coming up and down the table. Oh, that's a good shot. This is an example of how ruthless he can be. Phil Harrison's mistake was a pretty minor one, and when you looked at the table when Mick came to it, you were thinking, well, maybe he pots a few balls, but does he really clear up from here? Well, the answer looks to be yes, he does. He's now got two simple reds left, and as long as he gets position on the black, this is going to be 3-2 to Hill.
He doesn't have to do a lot here with the white ball to get perfect position on the black.
Yeah, a simple two-cushion positional shot.
And following the 5 break-off shots so far, I would have said the pass score for the match would have been 4-1 to Phil Harrison. So Mick's in a very good position, being 3-2 up at the moment.
Yeah, he'll be very pleased. And I think now Phil will start to think, what am I doing? Because that frame, he was in first and had a really good opportunity. Just took his eye off that pot.
Absolutely.
The yellow you can see hanging over the bottom left-hand corner pocket was what caused this problem. That's 2 in a row for Mick Hill now.
In the ladies' final on the other table, it's currently 2 frames to 1 to Sharon James. Both of them going for their first ever world title.
Yeah, I think whoever wins, it'll be a deserved winner. They've both been around knocking on the door of that world title for a while now, so it'd be nice to see one of them lift the trophy. I was doing the Sharon James match, so I saw how she qualified. I think Barbara Taylor also played well. Sharon played really well. She was playing Amy Beecham, who's the defending champion and #1 seed. I think everyone assumed that it would be fairly straightforward for Amy. You see Amy in the crowd actually, 3 rows back.
And in the last 32, Sharon also beat Sabria Brune, who was the 2016 world champion. So on the way to the final, she's beaten the last 2 world champions. So she'll be feeling very confident that she can win this final.
Yeah, that's doing it properly. So Phil Harrison has at least potted a ball off this break.
So again, he's first in control in this frame, so he'll be desperate to make the most of it this time.
It's not as easy an opportunity as he might have wished for. Similar to the last time, the balls do broadly go, but just not exactly hanging over the pockets. Two balls at the top of the table that he's nearest. It's obvious enough what he does with them. It's the 2 near the black that require the thought. So going for the tricky one down the right hand side first. If we take that reaction to mean he didn't want it to go in, or he just doesn't like where it's finished.
Yeah, because clearance looks difficult here, as you said, with those 2 reds. So he's going to try and see if he can just hold for that red in the middle pocket and open up the other red at the same time with a slight angle. Not an easy shot though, because it does look very thin, this red.
Well, it looks very thin, and
even if you can get to it,
yeah,
I think he can get to it.
I think he can just get to it, but it's actually pretty tight. Cue ball's obviously going to have a fair bit of pace on it, so you've got to control where it's going. Pots it thick, which changes the angle slightly, and that's not really turned out right.
He's getting himself in a fair bit of trouble here. He still has that long red down the left-hand cushion, but it's certainly not where he wants to be at this stage, and it still doesn't solve the problems of the two reds down the bottom part of the table.
And if there's one thing you don't want to be doing against Mick, it's potting a few easy balls, clearing the table up for him, and then turning it over.
Can we have the English and Australian junior team managers, please?
Sometimes the unfairness of pool, being the first person in a frame, your clearance is more difficult, and if you happen to miss it, your opponent steps in for a much simpler one.
There's less traffic to clear up, isn't there? Which has happened a couple of times in this final already.
Tricky long red now for Phil.
Oh, that's a fantastic shot.
Oh, he's hit that so well. I can't tell you how well he struck that.
It's a hard pot just to roll it in, but to screw back and get the perfect angle for this red in the middle pocket to manoeuvre this other tricky red. That's a shot of the match so far, that one.
Absolutely world class. As befits a World Championship final between the number 1 and number 2 seeds. Difference, as we were alluding to earlier on, in previous years we've played the final on a bigger table. The legacy of when it was first televised, it was easier to televise on a bigger table. This is the first year we've played the final on the same table that's been used all week. I think that's probably a bit more of a leveller. Mick Hill is one of the best players in the world on the big table.
No, he took a bit of a gamble there. Decided not to kiss into it as I thought he would. Now, has he done enough? Because if he can't see it, then he's got himself in a bit of trouble there. He certainly can't see the red on the right hand side.
Yeah, I don't think if he can see anything, it's only the thin edge of this red. He can't do anything with it.
We can't see Phil Fiz's reaction at the moment. There we go, let's see.
Well, what's he want to do? I mean, he could consider bending round the ball round slightly with a trace of left-hand side, but he's going to come so close to the black.
He can hit it, but there's no way that goes in the bottom right-hand pocket.
Here he is applying the side, but this is tricky.
Yeah, I don't think that shot was ever on, but at least he's covered the pocket to an extent. But again, Mick back on the table.
Yeah, I'm not sure he's done enough, because the yellow that's immediately above the red bottom left, I think Mick will eventually be able to play that into the cushion and off the red. I can see that pocket getting opened up if Mick gets the opportunity. There's no easy starter, there's only really the long yellow to the top right, and potentially the one in the middle of the table. May decide just to play a safety shot as a result. There's a good safety area on the right hand side of the table that he's currently looking at. Don't see him play many snookers, but definitely made sense to play one there. So easy enough escape. If he wants to hit the one over the bottom left hand corner pocket, that's a simple enough escape, but he doesn't desperately want to move it from where it currently is.
Tausuke.
Seconds.
Ball, 2 versions.
Phil missing, getting out of that snooker there. So 2 shots to Mick. There's a big mistake there because it is quite a large margin of error.
Yeah, he had enough problems really. Even if he just left Mick one opportunity, I think 2 might be a bridge too far. It's just very hard to contain Mick Hill, this is the problem. Anybody's susceptible if you get them under some pressure, but it's just how you get him under some pressure. you just have to play so well. Basically no missed pull.
Another great pot there. Most people would have tried to get that yellow in the middle pocket.
Yeah, I'm surprised he took it to the corner, but if you can pot as well as that, why not?
You can clip this yellow into the right hand middle pocket and come round. He's got a number of options because he's now got 2 shots. He could,
If you can
to
see
move that red away from the pocket, he could hit one of the yellows off the cushion onto the red.
in fact, he could see the red just to
He
the...
could. I don't think you could see that one.
No. So now he's got one he can drop in the middle pocket. It's all about how he opens up the bottom left-hand corner. I think he'll probably try and open up the pocket. I mean, he could just manoeuvre around.
Yeah.
I think here he plays this, the leftmost yellow off the cushion and off the red.
Just to set himself up. He's still got a visit to do, and all the other yellows are nicely in the open.
This should open the pocket up nicely.
Even drops in. Wasn't a major problem if it dropped in or not, to be fair, with the spare visit.
Can't really see him needing the 2 visits.
Bit of a clash there between the ladies and the men's tables.
Yeah, Mick just knocking into Barbara Taylor, who was lining a shot up. It's a different way of doing it. It's generally been fairly well received so far. It's worked very well, certainly for the team matches where we've had 2 tables in play and been able to bring you live streaming of both of them in parallel.
It certainly makes it more exciting because playing on 2 tables can really change the score quite quickly. Momentum becomes key in those matches, as we saw in the England-Wales men's team final.
Yeah, England never looked like winning that match until the point they did. They were never ahead until the final frame.
Mick will be a bit disappointed there. He wants to get a couple of inches further.
Yeah, such a perfectionist. He didn't really want to have to use the 2 shots. He considers he should have
At
done
least
it.
he's got them though. That's the advantage.
Yeah. Don't think he needs to worry himself too much. He can just set this up. No, in fact,
Perfect.
doesn't want to use the 2 shots. Just sets himself up perfectly.
Screw back to put the black in the same pocket.
Just borrowing enough angle to screw past the black. Just looks so easy the way he plays the game, doesn't it?
So for the first time in this final, there's a 2-frame gap, and Mick Hill leads by 4 frames to 2. And on top of that, Mick Hill is breaking in the next. Not that that's been a major advantage for him so far in the final, but I'm sure that'll change at some stage.
Yeah, I think if Phil's expecting to be given too many opportunities off the break, he's going to be sadly disappointed. He's had opportunities off all 3 of Mick's breaks so far, but finds himself 4-2 down. Hasn't done a lot wrong, Phil, but it's just a couple of half chances he hasn't capitalised on, and that's the difference between being 4-2 up and 4-2 down.
But again, it's another frame where Phil Harrison had the first bite of the cherry, didn't he? I believe that's like 5 of the 6 frames that Phil's had the first bite of the cherry.
So Mick just taking a look, there's 2 screens from where the camera is, sort of behind the cameras, showing both of these matches. Mick just looking over at the progress, looking at the score on the ladies' match. So George Bradbury, I'm not surprised to see him take his time here. The balls haven't split very well the last couple of times. Mick just inviting him to improve on this.
I'd be quite surprised if Mick doesn't look at the balls here, to be fair, but he's not. He's got faith in George.
Yeah, let's see how the split works out for him. Well, much better is the answer.
But still nothing down.
No.
My maths tells me right. So another dry break. So far he's had 2 dry breaks and 2 scratches in his 4 breaks. Can't remember the last time we've said that about Mick, with 4 breaks in a row in a match.
No, I think Mick will be demanding that they bring the 8-foot table back. He was a master at potting balls on that one. This is what you describe as a 7-foot table. I mean, this debate with some of the Australians earlier, they measure the size by the internal playing area. We measure it by the external dimensions of the table. So the actual playing surface is not much more than 6 feet, but the table as a whole measures 7.
So once again, Phil has a first bite of the cherry in this frame.
And that's a beautiful position shot. He's playing for a choice of 2 yellows. I think he's landed on both of them.
Looks like the tricky yellow on the left-hand cushion just goes past that red. So there's nothing stopping him going for the clearance here.
No, and that tricky yellow is made less tricky by the fact there's a couple of yellows in the middle of the table waiting, so he can just roll that in and be assured position. He's not going to have to do too much with it.
His clearance is all about the cue ball control of the white. If he has perfect cue ball control, it's relatively straightforward, but as soon as you run out slightly, it tends to have a snowball effect on the rest of the clearance.
Yeah, that's been what's gone wrong in the previous couple. He has just slipped out of position, which is uncharacteristic for him.
Which is why he's just taking his time here.
So I think this positional shot will be the key to this frame. It's a narrowish gap he's got to get the cue ball through here.
I'd quite like to kiss onto that red just in front there, just to give him more options on that yellow that's next to it later on in the clearance. He's decided to move both the black and the yellow out, which is perfect. So it's all about this shot here for the clearance.
I don't know that he was necessarily playing to kiss the black there, but this has turned out pretty well. All the balls now out in the open, including the black. The black will certainly pot bottom left, so we'll just eventually need to find his way down the right-hand side of the table. So just looking, if he runs this yellow up the left-hand side cushion, he just wants to run through so he can drop the yellow that's in the middle of the table into the right-hand centre afterwards.
Oh, did not want to kiss the red there.
Now that's a bit of a loose shot, isn't it? There's no real excuse for hitting the red there.
So another unforced error by Phil Harrison here.
Looked to have done all the hard work as well. He played a good positional shot to get in position. He'd be annoyed with himself. That's as loose a shot as you'll ever see him play, really. Turning the table over to Mick Hill again.
So this is a big shot to get going. Fancy him getting it though, even though it's slightly awkward queuing. Excellent queuing there. But he had to focus a lot just on the queuing, so he's slightly run out of position there.
The oddity of this match so far has been the fact that Mick hasn't broken very well and hasn't potted anything has actually worked to his advantage, because Phil keeps getting in first and then missing, and Mick's being turned over these opportunities with quite a lot of regularity at the moment.
I think we could be seeing a safety shot here though, because there's no simple reds. And with all the yellows being on the top side of the table, you can leave the white on the bottom cushion.
Yeah, there's a big target to get in behind, the centre of the bottom cushion. Oh, in fact, he's going to try and hit the lower of these two reds off the side cushion.
Yep, that's exactly what he's playing. He wasn't going for the pot, just going for the safety. But he's left a little bit more of that yellow than he would have hoped for there.
Not as much as Phil would like, but more than he wanted.
Tricky cut into the top right-hand pocket is what he's looking at, I think. It doesn't appear that that yellow goes past the red to the top left-hand pocket. But he's eyeing up all his options here before he decides. That's the 30 seconds called. And that's a great pot. Great recovery there.
And that could be an important turning point. So I can't help feeling Mick was maybe being a bit greedy with that snooker. It felt like he was trying to split the balls up as well as play the snooker, and maybe he'd have been better just to make sure of the snooker.
He wanted a fuller contact, didn't he? But just lost it a bit there.
Because he didn't need to play it off the side cushion. He could have clipped off one of the other reds and just gone in behind directly.
Absolutely. So nothing too complicated here. Leave himself perfect angle for the last. That's what he's looking at, to get nice position to roll forward and be perfect on the black.
Yeah, and it's important he does leave the right angle, because this black is slightly shielded by these reds. He doesn't want to leave himself too much angle.
If he leaves too much, then if he goes far too far, then he's just going to leave himself a long black. But ideally, he just wants to keep it as simple as possible. So let's see.
That looks pretty much
Looks
perfect.
pretty good.
Just run the cue ball through with topspin, drop onto the black.
Excellent shot. So it looks like Phil's going to bring it back to just one frame behind with the break.
Black safely down, it is just one frame behind. Mick Hill now leads Phil Harrison by 4 frames to 3.
To Mick on the other table, also available on the EPA stream. Links on the WEPA website. I think Mick looking for his 5th title. 5th or 6th? No, I think it's 6th. I think this would be his 5th title. There for Babs and a big split. Sharon chooses yellows. She's got one slightly awkward ball, but yellows are the balls. Drop this one in at the top. Look at the top.
Phil Harrison just coming over to inspect the pack, and I'm not surprised because the balls haven't split up very well so far, and I think there is a concern that they're proving quite tricky to rack on this table. Not necessarily the fault of the referee, but unfortunately he's the man that's been tasked with getting this right. So Phil just asking him to have a second go at racking them up. Everyone's now happy that they are.
I'm surprised Mick
tight.
didn't have a closer look in the last frame, to be honest.
So Harrison to break off in this 8th frame. Well, that's better.
Balls potted there, 3 balls potted now, so he'll be happy with that.
Yeah, I think he'll decide that checking the rack is the way forward from now on. Just to bring you an update from the ladies' final, Sharon James currently leading Barbara Taylor by 4 frames to 2. Race to 8, I believe they're playing.
I believe so, yes. For yellows. He won't be happy with that. He wanted to open up those 2 yellows on the right hand side. He went for yellows because there was one tricky red by the black there, so, and he had the perfect angle there to try and open up those 2 yellows, but he's just been a bit unlucky. He's looking at the plant, so he might have left a perfect plant into that pocket. Yeah, it's not too bad.
Oh, that's a bonus, isn't it?
It's landed absolutely sparkling.
That makes such a difference. I mean, he's shaking his head, but he tends to do that even if he's in good position.
Absolutely.
So I don't think we'll read too much into that.
Because this looks relatively straightforward. If he gets quite straight, he wants to get as straight as possible on this because it's a nice straight one. That's perfect.
Yeah, I mean, he's still got to be careful with this plant because there is a bit of a gap between the 2 yellows, so he's got to make sure he doesn't squeeze it away from the pocket. They're at a sort of awkward distance where if they're touching, it's what you'd call a reverse plant where you hit sort of the opposite side from normal. I think they're just about far enough that they'll react normally. Just got to be a bit. You can sometimes squeeze an angle you don't expect to get off a plant like this.
Yeah, it's not too bad. He ideally wants that yellow to not go as close to the cushion because he needs that white to come out slightly to leave himself a long straight shot on the yellow down on the left hand side. If he stays straight, it's very easy position to get onto that yellow just below the black. That's where he's looking at now. So he's happy with that. So this is a great opportunity for Phil to get it back to 4-all.
Yeah, and I think that would probably be a fair reflection on what we've seen. These are the chances you need to capitalise on. It's the getting in first and missing that's proved costly. I mean, this is amazing. We've had 8 frames of pool, and Mick Hill's hardly been in first in any of them.
I know. That's right. He'll still be quite happy, even though he's lost his 2-frame lead. And actually, Phil will be relieved that he's back on level terms, because he probably feels that he should be in the lead, but having gone 4-2 down, he'll also be happy with 4-all. And the next 2 frames are very important, because after that we have a 15-minute break, which can always change the way the final goes. Especially as players aren't used to having breaks in pool matches.
No, it's unusual to play a match long enough. And that was a good shot. That playing that cannon, he actually had to hit it hard enough to make sure he freed the black up. He's played that perfectly. Simple black in the end. So 8 frames played, nothing still to choose between the players. Mick Hill 4, Phil Harrison 4.
And finally we have a break and dish.
Yes, I think if you'd have asked us for some predictions on the number of breaking dishes at the beginning, I'd have probably said more.
Absolutely.
More than 1 in the first 8 frames.
So will Mick Hill have a close look at the rack this time round, as Phil did last time, then got the perfect break after it.
I think he should do. I have to say, I always dislike doing that. I mean, it's not most of the time in pool you end up racking your own, but in situations where there is a referee, I always feel it's a bit mean to go and check it too much. But
Absolutely.
I think it's something as important as the World Championship final, you haven't really got much choice.
But it is easy for balls to roll off every now and again, so that's why you've just got to be doubly sure of it.
Everything's very slippery as well. We saw some of the referees yesterday taking their gloves off. The white gloves that they wear, although that's the tradition and it looks professional, they're actually quite slippery. They're not really the easiest things for handling the balls and the triangles with, particularly when it's hot and humid like this. Mick Hill's kind of looking on from the other end. He hasn't yet come round.
I don't think he's going to come round. I think he's leaving his trust in George here.
I mean, I'm not surprised by that, because George Bradbury is a top referee, but at the same time, maybe it just focuses the referee's mind if you come in and
He's
inspect.
breaking from the right hand side now, so he's opting for a slightly different angle for better luck. And still hasn't worked out. Oof. He won't be too disappointed this time, because he's left Phil absolutely no shot whatsoever, tight behind that red. So for once he'll be quite happy that he's done a dry break. The break's definitely not working for Phil though, is it, at the moment? That's 5 in a row now.
It's amazing. I mean, the break is normally, not the only strength, but one of the main strengths of Mick's game. He doesn't seem to be doing anything obviously different from when we've seen him previously, and it's not been that the table has been universally difficult to break on. The usual suspects like Tom Cousins in the team match earlier, he was still getting his customary good splits.
He's renowned to be the best breaker in the game, is Tom Cousins.
In fact, the balls were ending up in that England-Wales match, which was on the same tables shortly before this. There were some good breaks, there were some pretty open games. But that can be the way it goes. That's the frustration of breaking, isn't it? Some days you do exactly the same thing as you normally do and just get a different result.
Now Mick may be forced into trying to pot that yellow in the middle bag off the cushion, coming off the right hand cushion as we see it. He's looking at all different options at the moment, because he can't just tap behind that red because he's so close to the cushion now. That's what he looked at.
Well, he did what you called, but he didn't quite
Didn't
make
work
it.
out. He sort of got forced into that.
Wow, and this is a lovely opportunity for Phil. Look at where the balls are sitting now.
Yellow's looking good. No difficulty whatsoever with the yellows. One slightly tricky red, but again, that can be manoeuvred as well.
Yeah, I think I prefer the yellows, but yeah, both have their merits.
So he's opting for yellows. He's going to sort these two down the cushion, on the top cushion straight away, and then just generally move his way back down the table. All looks relatively straight, little soft roll shots and stun shots. Reds aren't causing any problems for any of the yellows at this stage. So it's a bit of a turning point here, isn't there? Because all of a sudden, Phil's got a chance to take the lead here.
Yeah, and I think he'll be relieved to have that chance. Sometimes against Mick, you only get the one chance. At the beginning of the match, it looked like Phil could race into a bit of a lead, but then once that lead had been wiped out and he found himself 4-2 down, I suspect he was fearing for the worst.
I think during the interval we may see Mick going to one of the practice tables and practicing his break-off,
Yes.
because that's the only part of the game that's not really working for him in this match.
he still looks fairly calm about the whole thing. I think he's probably accepting that he's doing the same thing as usual. Maybe it hasn't worked out right, but it'll come good. But he needs it to come good fast. He can't afford to get too far behind.
That's the beauty of pool. There's no guaranteed break that will guarantee putting a ball each time.
No, Tom Cousins, as you say, is about as close as anyone's come to it, and he does it by a combination of incredible timing and putting a lot of pace into it. It's very hard to replicate that break. You see other people, they watch him and think, oh, he's hit that hard, so they try and hit it hard, but they just can't do it with the same control. Yeah, these are sitting really nicely though for
They are.
Phil.
Yep. Perfect angle there.
Got a big margin for error for dropping on this one over the middle pocket.
It doesn't have to do anything with the white to get on the black, so very comfortable 5-4 for Phil Harrison all of a sudden.
A good pace of play. Only an hour or so in the books. Been very watchable pool so far. Not necessarily the first visit stuff we were expecting, but not far short of that.
It is good pace, but I think, was it 2-3 years ago when Sean Chipperfield won the final? That was over in record time, that one, wasn't it, I think?
That was
under an hour for 15 frames.
That was an incredible final. I mean, everyone was willing him on that year. The commentators were loving it because it was such exciting stuff.
Yeah.
He's never since then quite managed to replicate quite the same. I mean, he's always, I played him years ago at 9-ball, and he plays like that all the time. He's always played
It's
like
just
that.
his way of playing, isn't
But
it?
it just seems to be that year, it just all came together perfectly.
He had a good start this year. I thought he might be going on a run again this year, but yeah, that's always a danger with that play, that sometimes it can work brilliantly the whole way through.
Yeah.
But that year the break was working fantastically for him.
But it was nice to see a new face. I mean, he's been around a while, everyone knew what a good player he was, but he perhaps wasn't a familiar face at the latter stages of this tournament. These are two very familiar faces though.
Absolutely.
We've been watching and talking about these two for a long time. So Phil Harrison shooting an inquisitive look at the rack. The referee's going to have a second go at it. I have to say, personally, I do prefer the fact that we're still using a triangle. There's been a move towards using various racking devices. I don't mind the ones that are variations on a theme with the triangle, but the ones where you have those kind of magic racks where you have to use a piece of film on the table and place the balls onto them, it's quite fiddly.
Yeah, I do want to try it because that could solve all my breaking issues, to be honest.
Yes,
So I think
you'll have nothing to blame though once that's sorted out.
Something worth trying.
The inconvenience of those is that you've then got to get the device off the table again.
Yeah, because they use it a lot in American pool, but it's a slightly bigger table and less balls.
Yeah,
So
I mean,
therefore
it's
easier to
commonly
use
used
there.
in 9-ball. The other thing that's commonly used in 9-ball tours is to tap the table
Tap
away.
the table, yeah, that's a better way of doing it.
But it's hard to do. It's hard to do with 15 balls. It's a bit easier. 9 balls are bigger and there are less of them.
George is definitely struggling this time to get all 15 touching.
Phil happy to wait the extra time to be assured a good break.
That's another reason I never want to be a referee.
Yeah, I mean, you've got to admire these guys. I understand their enjoyment of it because we obviously both enjoy being around pool, which is why we're doing this. But
Has he got it touching this time?
it has very
Not quite.
thankless elements as well. So it seems that everyone's happy with the state of affairs now.
Interestingly though, Phil's not having a look at it. So he's giving him a bit of pressure to get it right, but then he's not double checking just to be safe, which I thought he would do, to be honest.
So, frame number 10, Phil Harrison steps up, leading by 5 frames to 4. Well, he came close to plotting one, but it
Yep, nothing
bounced
down.
out.
It's spread nicely.
Yeah, this is a Mick Hill position every day of the week, isn't it? It's
Absolutely.
Not simple, but makeable.
He'll be keen to level up the match going into the break.
Yeah, I mean, whatever the score is at the break, I think it'll be a reasonable reflection. If Phil was to be slightly ahead, that would be, I think, a reflection of the fact that Mick hasn't got his break together. but 5-all would not be unfair either. So a clever shot there, using the yellow as a way of cannoning the red in and also open things up a bit. There's a little bit of congestion to navigate here. It's not a complete formality.
I think he'd be quite happy to pot this red in the top left-hand pocket and kiss onto the black, because that gives him a lot of options with the reds in the middle there.
Yeah, he's going to have to slightly make that angle, but if he puts the red thin, he can hold and cannon onto the black. That, as you say, would be the best way of opening things. No, it looks like he's trying a different alternative.
That's a nice shot.
Yeah, this red down the right-hand side cushion was actually a little tricky to get on. He can then, once he's done that, he can pot the red into the middle pocket, the top one of the two reds to the right of the black. That will open things up slightly.
If he can get just about straight on that red in the middle, or just slightly above it, then he can follow through, again kiss onto the black and leave himself perfect on that red there. That's what he's looking at there.
That would be the dream angle. It would take a very precise angle to be quite right on that.
But he has got, he may have the angle now. Yeah, that's why he's decided to go for this one, because it's very difficult to get the angle, because he's got awkward cueing if he went for the right hand red. He's looking at options here.
Yes, it's hard to believe he's not going to want to take this one down the cushion where he's hit.
It's just slightly awkward cueing here. Okay, that's not bad. Instead of the middle, you can go into the top left-hand pocket, and again kiss onto that black if need be.
Yeah, that's a clever shot. It's a more difficult pot, but it's an almost guaranteed cannon on the black, and any kind of foolish cannon on the black is going to leave him plumbing on the second red. Most players are looking at that thinking, well, I don't really want to leave that long red because it is theoretically missable, but because Mick is such a good potter, that kind of thought's never even entering his head.
Now he's just got to navigate the white to come back up to the top part of the table with all these yellows here. But he feels quite comfortable here. Bit of right hand side. Come off the two cushions. That's a lovely shot.
Yeah, exactly as you said.
All the hard work's been done now. It's just straightforward roll-ins now.
So it looks very much like it's going to be 5-all at the mid-session interval.
Makes for a very exciting second half of this match, I think, there, Mark.
Yeah, sets it up perfectly. Started out as a best of 21. They're going to come in at 5-all, it looks, and then go and play a best of 11 afterwards.
I can't remember Mick doing too many unforced errors in this match. There's been a few from Phil. It's really the break that's been letting Mick down. But there we go, 5-all. We believe that there's an interval. We'll just hang around just in case there's a change of plan.
Looks like the referee's taking his gloves off. I don't know if that's to wrap the balls up. Let's just check that there's not going to be any more play.
Yeah, looks like a few people on the other way. So.
Yeah, Phil putting his key away. So we'll be back with commentary in about 15 minutes when the players return. Scores tied at 5 apiece. Mick Hill 5, Phil Harrison 5.
Babs with an easy black, roll of the eyes. That's a chance that she wasn't going to get. So other match on the other table in the arena is at 5-all. I think they're having a mid-session interval. You see the crowd filtering past, watching the men. Mick Hill versus Phil Harrison
So, players back in the arena, get back underway. If you're just joining us, you're watching live coverage of the 2018 World 8-Ball Pool Championships, the men's individual final. This is Mick Hill against Phil Harrison. The score is currently tied at 5 apiece.
Has his luck changed? Nope. Another dry break. Mick was just resting during the interval. Didn't go to one of the other tables to practice his break.
It's funny, you don't often see people actually practicing the break, but it would have been quite logical given the way the match has gone so far.
Absolutely.
So both matches finally poised, the men tied at 5 apiece. The ladies' final, which is taking place on the opposite side of the arena, Sharon James holds a single frame advantage over Barbara Taylor. She leads 4-3.
Phil's got a slightly harder yellow than he would have hoped for to start off with. Dealt with it well. How's his luck in the positioning? He has got a long yellow into the top left-hand corner pocket, so he's in good position.
Well, if Mick does go on to lose this final, it'll certainly be the break that will be the main culprit.
6 times in a row now. He had 2 scratches and 4 dry breaks since then.
I would think that's a stat he literally hasn't ever had.
No, absolutely. It's very difficult to win a match at this level if you don't pot a ball off the break.
Oh, what's Phil Harrison done here?
Again, another unforced error here, I believe. So the referee's going to see if it's touching, so he must be very close to it.
Just didn't get through that, and needs a bit more pace just to bump into that yellow. Just end up an inch or 2 away from it again. Just kind of dribbled into it dead weight and rested on the side.
Now, we're not going to try and predict shots here because we don't know if it's touching or not, which does make a lot of difference as to what shot he would play.
Well, this is a very disappointing thing to have done, because if you look at where the balls are, if that yellow is nudged forward an inch or 2, you can't imagine any way he wouldn't clear up.
And that's been the summary of the first half of the match. It's been 5-all because Mick Hill's break has not been working. But then on the other side, Phil Harrison's done a few unforced errors, whereas Mick hasn't.
Which is funny, because
So
Mick
it's
Hill
definitely
normally has a
touchable.
good break, and Phil Harrison doesn't normally make many errors, so it's been a bit of a contrast. I don't think that's good enough either, is it? I think Mick can see the...
He's left that long, the red on the top left-hand pocket. He's just going to check if those 2 by the top right-hand side will plant past that yellow, or worst case scenario, he can take the pocket and take control of the table. It's difficult to see what the situation is, those 2 reds at the top there. It does look like there's gap for a plant to get past it, but at the same time he's got to make sure that once he does do that, the other red, the first red that he hits, he can still pot it if he goes for the clearance.
Yeah, the other alternative would be to try and play the red on the right hand side of the table off the yellow, but the yellow's a little bit away from the pocket, and you'd have to play it with a lot of pace to clear that area, so I don't think that's something he's going to do if he can help.
He hit that thinner than he wanted to, which is why he's run out of position.
Yeah, he wanted to come up the other side of that for the just drop the red in the middle. It's come between those 2 yellows. I mean, in a sense, he'll be relieved that he did come through them, but this has turned out pretty bad now, because he now can't see the one over the bottom right-hand corner either.
He's looking at the plant. He's actually got a good angle. It makes the plant a lot harder, but the angle he's coming in, it's natural for the first red to move up the table rather than being just behind it.
Yeah, it might be one of those situations where you're forced him to take you on a more difficult shot, and it could work to his advantage.
And he won't be too disappointed as long as the red stays in the pocket if it doesn't go in. The worst case scenario is it doesn't go in and it rattles out and gives Phil a chance to clear up. So a big shot here. Played it well.
And this has turned out pretty well. The red's come down the table, that's in a nice position.
That's the advantage playing that plant from where he was.
So, not what he originally planned, but it has turned out to his advantage. Well, he looks a little disappointed, but not really much to be disappointed about. Look at where he'd need to be for the red. He may decide to leave that one till last because it obviously affords good position to the black. But equally, if you can get on it earlier, it may be wise to get it out of the way.
He's got a few options here, hasn't he? Just whatever he feels most comfortable with.
Taking the full allocation of time. No, that's no good. I don't think.
He's having a quick look to see if he's got that red. Doesn't look happy. So he's just got the red in the bottom left-hand pocket as we now see it, with awkward queuing, and that red is very close to the cushion, which makes it a little bit harder. And it's the only red you can go for.
Yeah, it's awkward queuing, quite tricky to reach.
Also makes it harder to get onto that red by the black. He wanted to get on it now, because it's an awkward one to get on.
Yeah, he's going to have a couple of difficult shots and then still have the problem with the red near the black.
He's naturally going to have to pot this one in the bottom right-hand pocket and come up for the one in the top right-hand pocket. He doesn't want to do too much with the cue ball with this queuing. And now he's got the trouble shot here.
Yeah, this is by no means the right angle, really.
Because you've got the three yellows there that are acting as potential blockers as well for him. Can he screw back, or does he have to swing round 2-3 cushions?
Might he consider playing the red off the yellow to straighten it out?
That's another option, isn't it?
He's got a lot of angle if he puts it
He's definitely
direct.
go for the screw back option.
He's going to have to really get into this cue ball.
The referee was a bit too close there.
Oh, how well to hit that.
He'll take that. Didn't want the kiss, but it gives him a shot. It's a great test of queuing here, though. A long straight pot in the top right and top left-hand pocket. Guaranteed position on the black.
Yeah, it's a difficult shot, but he's hit
Having a
that.
look in the middle bag. It's
That
very
previous
tight in
one
the
he
middle
hit
bag.
so sweet. Yeah, I think you might be tempted to just drop it dead weight in the middle.
It's difficult from that angle. He's gone for it. Great shot.
Well, this has been a more difficult clearance than he was intending it to be, but he's taken these very well.
But again, Mick didn't get anything off the break, and an unforced error from Phil has let Mick back in, and he's now 6-5 ahead.
A number of moments in that frame where Phil will have been looking at the table thinking, surely I'm going to get another shot. Mick kept it going somehow.
But the story of the first half is continuing in the second half of the match so far.
Yeah, it hasn't completely come alive yet. There's been a lot of quality from both players, but they're not blowing each other away at the moment. I think if they could start getting more first visit clearances, that will help. And the fact also that the breaks haven't been very good, they haven't split the balls up very well all the time, so that's made some of the frames a bit scrappier than they would have been. We've seen in the past that Phil's inspected the rack a bit more carefully than Mick, so I think we can assume he'll be supervising George Bradbury here, who I'm sure isn't desperately relishing this level of oversight that he's got so far. The table, of course, has been in use for a few days, so it tends to be that you get a few slight areas pressed down into it where the balls have been dropped on it lots of times.
Yeah, there's no new cloth for this final.
Yeah, and that's just a matter of practicality. We've been providing so much coverage on these two tables, there wasn't an available time when it could have been taken out of service to recover. So a purposeful looking Phil Harrison steps up to break in the 12th frame. Managed to claw things back to 4-all, but he's gone behind again.
Again, Phil's potted a ball straight off the break. But there's a lot of a mess there on the right-hand cushion as we see it there.
Yeah, this could take a while to sort out. Mind you, I don't know that Phil will necessarily mind that. I mean, he'd rather play a quick attacking frame, but doesn't mind mixing it up like this. So he's potted a yellow. If he wants to be reds, which he may well do, he's going to have to pot this one in the centre.
He has got an angle with that red towards the right hand side to pot it into the bottom right hand pocket as we see it and split into that bundle of 5, but there's no guarantees where the balls are going to land. And actually looking at it, it looks like there's a 3-ball plant that might nudge the yellow towards, make it into a 4-ball plant and nudge that yellow towards the top right hand pocket.
So first up, he's going to pot this if he wants to be red. That's successfully achieved.
So he's got decisions now.
Yeah, I mean, it's not a bad shot. If he hits the join of the red and the yellow that are up near the baulk cushion, that should split things out reasonably well, but it's definitely trusting to luck.
He's having a close look.
You imagine he's going to want to get up the table and do that before he does anything with this ball that's over the bottom right hand corner pocket. I mean, there is an argument for getting it out of the way now. So
Yeah,
decides that
decided to
discretion is the
play
better
safe.
part of valour.
A wise move at this stage, I'd say.
Yeah, and if he was going to play safe at any stage, it was a good thing to cover that pocket properly, because there was previously a gap that Mick could have squeezed a yellow round, and that wouldn't have helped the situation at all. So Mick now with a bit to think about. What Mick needs to do is try and keep his balls in play, because he doesn't really want to give Phil time to start developing stuff at the top of the table. If any of Mick's balls were safe, Phil could effectively have a free shot at those reds up top.
So Mick just playing a holding shot there, giving Phil just the red that's over the pocket an option for him. That it looks like, I think he's just going to tap this red. He's not going to pot it at this stage.
Well, I think we can safely say he's got that pocket covered. He's got that red about as far in as it goes.
You could see a similar option here where he goes for the yellow and then leaves the white tight onto the black. So again, the only option he's got is the red that's over the bag, and this time it's a little bit harder to keep that red up on the table, really. So
Yeah, that would be a good option. It's not completely straightforward to play from here, but
he's trying to get the top right-hand corner bag there rather than the middle pocket.
he'll be pleased that he's got all those yellows in play though, because that makes it a bit harder for Phil. He can't risk doing too much with the reds at the top of the table now. So does he want to play a positive shot and bump some of them out, or is he just going to play a containing shot and nestle into them? It's the first frame really in the match where we've had this kind of tactical battle where it should take a little while to resolve.
Yeah, because he doesn't really want to open them up at this stage.
No,
Not too much anyway.
if Mick's yellows were still where they were before the last shot, he wouldn't have minded so much opening them, but the yellows are all in pretty good positions apart from the two in the cluster.
There's more benefit for Mick for the balls opening up now. So again, just a containing shot.
It's helped a little bit. He's flicked one red out, and the yellows are well stuck in there at the moment. There's not too much Mick can do from this position. He can't get those yellows out even if he wanted to, and where they are he's not really going to want to just yet.
He'd like to get one of those two yellows out, but it's very difficult because they're surrounded by the reds at the moment. So he's deciding just to tighten them up even more at this stage.
Now does this top one go past? Can he get it over the corner pocket?
If he does, it does give Phil, once he moves that red, it gives Mick the option, easier option for Mick to move the yellows out, because that red at the moment is acting as a fantastic blocker. But one of them's going to have to do something, otherwise we'll go with stalemate here for a while.
Could play the loose red in bulk, of course, over the top right hand corner. Yeah, I mean, as you say, it's just decision time really. Phil's 3 reds are acting as guardians of those 2 yellows. It just depends whether he's happy with that situation or whether he wants to change it.
So,
Wow.
yeah, Phil's taken the bull by the horns here. That's a great shot there. Covered the pocket.
Tap of appreciation on the table from Mick Hill. I don't know if he's very happy or he's very annoyed with the position he's left him.
Yeah, Mick doesn't look too happy there. He's got a few problem balls all of a sudden. 2 specifically. And all the reds are out in the open.
I mean, it was a great shot.
Double this into the middle bag off the red, possibly. We'll cover the bag. Yeah.
Well, that's helped a little bit at least. It's given Phil a little bit of a complication. I mean, Phil's last shot was a great one because if you look at where the ball's finished up, if the ball he planted had dropped in, he'd have had a clearance on. So it's just really that one that Mick's just not slightly safe. That's the only difficult one. There's also the one above the black is a little bit protected.
Also stopped any long potential safety battles as well, which neither player really want to get involved in.
No. I mean, you see Phil Harrison is sort of almost indicating that there are a couple of different options. He's not quite sure which way to go. So he's only got 25 seconds or so to make his mind up. He's just had the 30-second warning. I need to get down fairly quickly to play this.
Yep, now he's going to have to rush.
Now
he's
he's
getting
running
down
out
to
of
the last
time.
10 seconds. Which is probably why he missed it. He was rushed into that one a bit.
You don't see many time fouls, do you? It's a costly thing to
Absolutely.
do.
Now, the biggest problem ball for Mick is the one by the red, but yeah. Look and see if you can get that white there to pot it into the corner. And if you can get that kind of position, then at the same time you can actually bump the other yellow on the cushion into a more potable position. So
Yeah, these are the kind of positions he relishes. This is a kind of difficult chance, but it is a chance. Important stage of the match. Still a fair way from the winning line, but over half the frames have now been played. 2-frame advantage at this stage can be quite big.
So he's going to look to cross double it back into the pocket he's nearest at the moment. And nudging out at the same time. These cross doubles are the hardest ones though, with that much angle. If he plays it perfect, because he's got the other yellow into the left-hand middle pocket, this is a massive shot.
Yeah, this could really unlock things.
Nope, missed it.
Even for a player as good as Mick Hill, that's a difficult shot.
Yeah, they're the hardest doubles, those ones.
Doubles like that into the middle pocket are pretty reliable, but into the corners, not so.
At that angle, it makes that corner pocket very tight, and you can tell that it hit the cushion about 10 inches before the pocket.
Yeah. Bit of pressure now on Phil though. The yellow's all in decent possible positions, so can't really afford to let Mick back to the table.
And obviously there's that red near the black now, which is a little bit awkward. The 30-second called again. So under pressure time-wise as well.
Yeah. And with plenty to think about.
Looking at 4-ball plants, yep.
Oh, what a shot.
Played it well. You
That's-
see that on the overhead camera, suddenly that was definitely a possibility.
That's opened things right up. The black's gone a little bit safe, which may be an issue, but that's opened the reds on the left-hand side up nicely. Still got the one nearest to the left middle pocket isn't straightforward.
Looks like he's got the perfect angle now just to pop the red into the bottom left-hand corner and nudge that red. He's guaranteed to be on the red in the bottom right-hand corner.
Yeah, it's all
Or
about
top left.
getting the right nudge though. You don't want to. What he doesn't want to do is nudge it up the cushion and past the pocket.
It's just literally just touch onto it,
brush
just to let it
into
move a couple of inches, no more than that.
Well, right now there's so much to think about. He's getting the 30-second warning
Every shot.
every shot.
Yeah, he's played it well.
Yeah, that's a really good shot. Made it look easy, but it's very easy to nudge those past the pocket.
It's all about the black, and it doesn't appear that he's got the double into the middle pocket for the black, because that yellow appears to be in the way.
Yeah, you'll have the option to move the black off the red that's over the corner, but it's not easy to move it in such a way that you're sure it's going to be knocked on, because quite a lot of traffic in the middle of the table. He doesn't really want to get to the situation where he clears up and leaves himself the black as a double to the corner, because that's by no means a certain shot.
Yeah, and we're at the stage of the match that every unforced error is going to be crucial now as well. Oh, that nearly jumped out. He's made it a little bit easier.
Yeah, he's now put it. That's a great shot, by the way. He's nearly put it in a position where he can drop onto it and pot it, whereas where it was tight on the cushion, that would have been a bit too risky. So this is looking like a good opportunity now. He's had to work for these, though. I think there was a moment where he was worried he'd snookered himself on all the balls, but you can clearly see he can get through to the left of the black.
He's just got to navigate his way to get position on the black for that last shot.
Yeah, you can go either way. Well, that now confirms he's going to have to get to it off the one that's over the baulk pocket.
He's probably going to want to leave the white around where the blue spot is, if you pretend it's a snooker table.
It's going to be difficult to judge this last shot. He's going to have a dilemma between guaranteeing a shot on the black, but it being quite a tight angle, versus getting greedy and getting close to it, but risking snookering himself.
He has got a massive pocket in the middle bag if he wants to. Just depends how much he wants the white to travel. Not ideal from the position there. So I still think he's going to aim for around the blue spot on the pocket here.
It's a reasonable margin for error, but there's only a smallish zone where it's an easy shot. If he goes too far or too short, it's a fairly tricky shot on the black.
Never easy when the ball's over the bag.
Oh,
Yeah, exactly.
He's underdone that by a mile.
Underdone it. Just decelerated on the shot there.
I mean, he's underdone that by a long way as well. It's not like he's just finished just short.
So another unforced error here by Phil.
And
Giving Mick a bit of hope here.
I feel this could be very costly indeed. That shot right there is the difference between 6-all and 7-5 in this match.
You sort of feel that Phil's had about 70% of the table time, and yet Mick looks like he's favoured to go 7-5 up at this stage. Oh, maybe he's not snookered. Can he clip this into the bottom left-hand pocket? Be a stroke of luck if he can.
No way, that's an incredible shot.
Wow.
That's so far from what he played for, it's unbelievable.
On the first side, it's a fantastic shot to play.
It is a fantastic, by which I mean he didn't play for it positionally, but he absolutely played to cut it in, and that was a
Huge stroke
fantastic
of
shot.
fortune to have that shot from where he was.
Well, that's made a big difference. 6-all now. Wow, what a nervous moment for Phil Harrison. For a moment he must have thought he'd thrown that opportunity away and was going to go 7-5 behind, but pulls out a phenomenal cut across the table. So the players locked at 6 apiece now, still anyone's game. 12 frames played of this best of 21. Each player now needs a further 5 frames to lift the trophy.
So, will it be 7th time lucky for Mick Hill off the break? to actually pot a ball off the break and have a chance to look at his options.
Well, I think I'll have to reflect that to have a day where he has 6 dry breaks or in-offs and is still tied at 6 apiece, it's not really gone that badly. And finally, he's potted one. He's not going to. Oh, I thought for a moment he was going to flick off the black and going off, but it's turned out perfectly.
And on the other table, Sharon James is currently 5 frames to 4 up against Barbara Taylor. So both finals have been very closely fought at the moment. So Mick will be relieved he's actually got a chance here now. There's actually a case for both colours if he wants to. Whichever one he fancies the best. So he's opting for yellows. So he's going to want to get onto that yellow behind the black last, because it's the best ball then to get onto the black as well. So Mick going to take these 2 at the top first and come back up the table for the yellow into the middle left-hand pocket possibly. It's all about getting position on that final yellow. It's going to be the key to this frame here. This way he just needs accurate position on that last yellow. Just needs it like 3/4 ball as he just showed there, just to roll it in and get onto that bottom yellow. So this is the key shot in the frame. This one's just making doubly sure of it. If he gets this exactly where he wants it, the rest of the frame is straightforward.
Could it be that after 12 frames he finally records his first clearance from the break in the 13th? Be a lucky 13 for him. Oh, he's overdone this.
Slow down fast. Yeah, that's a bad shot there by Mick.
And almost worse, he's just off straight the wrong side, so it's not even that easy to force the angle the other way.
He's gone a foot too far on that one, so it's not as if he's just gone past too far. He's absolutely had a bit of adrenaline there, and he's gone way past where he wanted to be.
He's done the opposite of what Phil did. Phil completely underdid the positional shot to get on the black in the previous frame. That time Mick's had a rush of blood, as you say.
The only advantage is he has left himself an angle but he's going to have to force the white round here, which is the last thing he wanted to do. Off 3 cushions. And how's he played this one? He needs the white to stop now. He needs the white to stop. Okay, so he's got a shot in the yellow, but he's going to kiss into the black. So again, not ideal, but he's still there for the clearance. But he just needs to work out when he kisses into the black where that's going to go and where the white's going to go. Because the last thing he wants to do is snooker himself on that last ball, because that virtually gives the frame to Phil Harrison. So he's looking to see where the black's going to go. The white's easier to control, because once he pots the yellow and goes into the black, the white should stop. It's just where the black goes, that's the key. That's a good shot actually, because he's got options here. He can cut it into both middle pockets. That's a great pot there, so yes. So finally Mick pots a ball off the break and records his first break and dish as a result of it.
Yeah, it shows how dangerous he is when he does put off the break. That's what's missing so far.
It looks like Sharon James has gone 6 frames to 4 up in the ladies singles final on the other table. So she's only 2 frames away from the title. Mick Hill is still 4 frames away from the title on this table.
Yeah, a long way to go still, but it could go pretty quickly. We know how quickly Mick can reel off 4 frames. Also now he's starting to get the break working. Well, we'll find out.
Yeah, if he gets another ball off the break next time, he starts
whether
to
that's
get
a
the break
flash
going.
in the pan or whether that was what he needs to do. It's Phil Harrison, though, to break in this frame. Once again, a fair bit of time is being taken to get the balls racked up properly. Phil Harrison needs to stay in this. He's worked hard to claw it back to 6-all. Now dropped behind again.
Frame 14, fell to break, trailing 7 frames to 6. Time loading.
So, how's his luck on the break?
Yep, red's gone in. All the reds look nicely in the open as well.
Yeah,
Just needs the first starting red is the only issue. I don't know if you can see the one in the bottom left-hand pocket. Doesn't look like he can.
no, there's a couple of tricky reds. There's the one in bulk that he could clip in. There's the one to the right-hand side of the black as we look at it. Maybe he can chip that into the middle.
Yeah.
Nothing ideal. Definitely wants to be reds though, because if you look, 2 yellows have stuck to the bottom cushion. There's a plant up in bulk that's pointing at the jaw of the pocket.
I think he probably is going to cut that red by the black into the top middle bag as we see it. Because he should kiss onto the yellow and then actually it'll be guaranteed position on the bottom left-hand pocket. Nope, he's decided to avoid any cannons. He's going for a slightly harder red here. Oh, he's underhit that by a long way. But at least he's got reds.
Yeah, his last scoring visit to the table a couple of frames ago, he underhit a positional shot and was a bit lucky to be left a different shot at the black from the one he'd expected. That time he's undercooked that quite dramatically. That was a thin shot, he needed to get quite a lot of pace into it to push it towards the pocket. I mean, this isn't, in a sense, the worst lead, because if you look at where the yellows are, you can't imagine Mick's going to make too much headway with them, but still, as we've seen repeatedly, you don't want to let him back to the table.
In fact, virtually every single yellow is safe-ish at the moment, isn't it? So he's going to just try and take control of this pocket by nudging the yellow the other side of the red. He's underhit that as well. I don't think he's actually stopped Phil from potting that red now. So he'll be disappointed with that.
So another important frame. I guess they're all important as we approach the winning line, but these even numbered frames, the ones that decide between, in this case, 8-6 and 7-all, always sounds like a big difference. Still not straightforward for Phil. I think that red does go round the pocket that Mick's just tried to cover. That the red could be squeezed through there, but I don't think it could be bashed in at much pace, so it's going to need to be in good position.
Yeah, I thought he'd missed that. So there's a few misses in this frame here.
Yeah, and he could be in trouble because Mick's now got a choice of covering, well, there's actually 3 pockets on the table Mick could cover. Left and right, as we look at it, or top right. Just try and apply some pressure.
Is he looking at a 2-ball plant here to actually open up 2 of his tricky yellows? There's a risk involved in that.
That feels a bit ambitious, doesn't it?
If he succeeds, then he puts himself in a great position. Yeah, that was a danger. He'll be happy with that.
Oh, he had a plan B.
Yeah.
I mean, to be fair, that was as he played it. He was looking at where the cue ball was going to go. It always looked very risky. Those balls were so far apart. But he's done the thing that mattered, which is to get that yellow in front of the red and get the cue ball in tight behind. Will Phil choose to come out, or will he choose just to touch up behind this yellow? Yeah, it's elected to come out, so it's going to play twice across the table to rest on the red. Well, in fact, not to rest on the red, to double the red. What a great shot that's. I tell you, if that red goes in, that would really have changed the complexion of the frame. It's done well to get it over the pocket, though. So all the pressure back on Mick Hill. More options than when he was last at the table. There's obviously a pot that he can take on in bulk. There's also the ball down the left-hand side of the table, which pots, or he can choose to rest it over the bottom left-hand corner pocket to try and tie things up. It's not really a clearance opportunity just yet, so you imagine he's going to maybe pot a ball or two first, but you imagine he's going to be working towards some kind of safety option. So, does he decide now to drop this yellow down, get the bottom left covered? All the reds now in possible positions, so Mick needs to try and tie things up, assuming he's not going for anything attacking. Just see the senior referee, John Hope, in the front row of the audience in the background, the man responsible for overseeing all the officials this week. Speaking of officials, one standing in front of the camera at the moment, which is why we can't quite see the table.
Good shot by Mick there. We'll probably change camera angle to get a better view, get the front angle here.
So it was a great effort his last visit to the table. Phil Harrison almost managed to pot a red out of the snooker, which would have been one of the shots of the championships, twice across the table and then double the red the other side. Got it over the pocket, but the fact that he let Mick back to the table has proved pretty costly, because Mick's now tied up one of his reds.
And all the yellows go, apart from... No, he's got the two yellows in the middle there by the black are slightly harder, so... So we'll see what Phil's plan is to move that red that's by the yellow in the pocket. That's the key for the frame for him.
Yeah, and he's been repeatedly taking his full time allocation. There's been a lot to think about. Seen the referee tapping the table on most shots to warn him that he's got to 30 seconds. There's a lot of different options here, but none of them, it has to be said, are entirely perfect.
Just had enough there, but I think he's actually left a gap there for Mick as well, but Mick said that was a good shot. I don't think either of players have reached the heights they played in the semi-finals as yet in this final.
No, Mick was just devastating. The semi-final I was commentating on against Eddie Barker, which he won 10-3 in the end. Ed is a terrific player, and we just saw so little of him. Mick was just absolutely rampant. Every time he was anywhere near the table, he'd cleared it up. It's really been a lack of opportunities. I mean, Mick has taken out a few quite good-looking finishes, but he just hasn't been in first very often.
Who would have thought there'd only be 2 breaking dishes after 13 frames, or 14 frames even.
Incredible. And not in fairness to the players because of missing or a lack of quality, it's just the balls haven't really cooperated. If they were to be critical, it's been the break. Oh, Mick,
he's running out of time.
Running out of time in a big way. Well, it's kind of okay. He's played a containing shot of a fashion, at least.
I think he did it just in time.
Yeah, you don't very
He
often
was
see
definitely
that.
approaching that 60-second away. He suddenly ran to play that shot.
You don't see that very often generally, and you definitely don't see it very often from Mick. He's one of the quickest players out there normally. So, Phil can take on a pot if he wants to. Plant, of course, bottom left, or we can try and clip this one into the middle. Goes for, well, what was attempted to be a safety shot. It's not actually turned out too well, because Mick can now cut this ball along the bottom cushion.
And Phil's still got that red on the right hand cushion, which is safe.
Yeah, I mean, if it goes in, Mick's well away, and if it doesn't go in, Phil's still got the difficult ball, so that shot not really turning out quite right. Just taking a time out again. Sharon James just playing a shot on the neighbouring table, as we can see.
Which was a black, and she's missed that black.
30 seconds.
2 shots. That's quite a bad miss.
So he's missed this, but he has got it near the pocket. And has he got a snooker as well? Not quite. This position starting to close in on Phil Harrison though. You can see the red on the right hand side. Potentially, can he play a cross double? But does that even help? He's still got the problem of the red on the right side cushion. That's the main problem at the moment.
You can see that Phil Harrison was shaking his head in disgust there that he allowed Mick to move that troublesome yellow out. It's the last thing he wanted to happen.
30 seconds.
Well, he attempted the double.
It didn't look on. He had to force it in the hope that he could force the angle, but just had too much of an angle there.
Well, if you look at where he'd finished as well, it wasn't like he was exactly out of the woods, even if the ball had gone in. So Mick Hill has stayed patient in this frame and he's engineered himself an opening.
There's a fair bit of work for Mick to do as well here.
Taylor, flooring on that. Big chance. I didn't think she was going to get not very worse, if I'm honest. Now, I don't know. That's a ruling in the sentencing.
Still a few things for Mick to think about. So that's opened up the path of that yellow into the right hand centre if he wants it. The one that's to the right of the black.
And the problem he's got is he can't use the bottom left hand pocket, which does make positioning so much harder for those 3 balls. They do go into the left hand middle, or even the left hand corner. One of them does. He's just got to think this out a little bit. Depends what angle he's got on this yellow at the moment. He's having a good look here though. You might have to force this angle a bit, make a bit of an angle, punch it across. So let's go for this one in the bottom right hand corner.
Can he hold for the one next to the black in the middle? It looks like he's got quite a lot of angle on this.
Well, you could kiss at the cushion and then kiss the red to hold it, but then obviously you've got to make sure that you can get onto the top yellow as well after that shot. Is he looking just to screw it across? Looks like he's going for that option again. He's played that well.
Yeah, for a moment it looked like he'd come too far, but the cue ball just pulled up in time. That's a good shot. I think he's got the angle to screw over onto the side cushion and up for the yellow in bulk. Or maybe just be able to roll it in and roll up the table. Still going to have to come back for the black, of course, but as long as he gets nicely on the red and on the yellow and bulk, that shouldn't be a problem. So as it happens, he couldn't get very close to this, but this pot's still perfectly makeable.
It looks like it has to go around the red towards the top right hand pocket here. Avoid any kisses. That's the key.
Yeah, it's just about the right angle to do that. He's going to come close to the right hand side of that red though. It is slightly in the way.
Trying to develop, concentrating a bit too much on the red and black, kind of into that.
No, that was it. That was the problem ball.
I think that's a total snooker he's left himself in now.
Yeah. He had that full ball in the end, so it wasn't even close. I'm not sure he had the speed even if he did avoid it. It seemed to be really soft.
Yeah, I think he played it slowly to try and make the angle, but
He just decelerated on the shot on that one, which messed up the angle as well.
so this is pretty much do or die. He can come off one cushion and try and knock the black into the middle pocket, but if he doesn't, he's going to leave the balls pretty open.
Yeah, he's got the middle of the top right hand pocket as we see it.
It's a low percentage shot. There is a chance though of potting it.
No, halfway between both pockets. Unlucky there.
So does Phil Harrison want to take the difficult red down the cushion on immediately, or is he going to go about the other ones first? Or indeed, will he choose to play a safety? He could snooker Mick, but he could be a bit reluctant with the black near the pocket.
Yeah, will he go for it now, or is he going to wait to actually...
I mean,
Yeah,
he
he's
opens the
decided to
whole
take it
thing
now.
up if he
Right.
pots this one, but it is a missable ball.
I think he's going to wait until he's just slightly straighter on that ball. There's no need to go for it now.
30 seconds.
So now he's going to try and drop right behind it. He's not going to try and move it into a better position.
No, if he just bounces the white just gently on and off the side cushion, that would be perfect.
Yeah, about a centimetre off the cushion would be ideal for him. That'll do.
Well, we'll give him 3 centimetres, that's not far off.
Because the other two are straightforward. He's got to do nothing with the white ball here.
Yeah, this would be a difficult shot if he had to force it for position, but the fact he can play it pocket weight makes it considerably easier.
Yeah, 7 all beckons.
I think that will be a fair reflection of the play we've seen so far. I think both players at a sensible think, how am I not further up than this? But
Absolutely, but overall I think probably, yeah, neither of them really have earned the right yet to have a big lead in this final.
no.
So straightforward shots here.
Yeah, just got to screw up the table for the black. We saw him quit on a screw shot earlier, but this is much easier. He's got a lot more space to play with. In fact, able to hit the side cushion, which just made it a safer positional shot. So the simple black down for Phil Harrison. He now levels things up at 7 apiece.
Mick will be hoping to be able to get a ball off the break for the second time running.
Yes, we'll find out whether the last one was a flash in the pan, or whether he's found the measure of the break now.
Keep it down, please, ladies and gents. Thank you.
30 seconds. Frame 15, makes a break, 7 frames all. Timing on each.
Mick Hill then to break off in frame 15 with the scores tied at 7 apiece.
Yep, he's got a yellow off the break. White not in the best of positions in the draw, but he'll settle having a ball off the break straight away. Looking at where the balls have landed, I think he's limited in his options, and the only pot he's got on is red in the middle pocket, I think.
Yeah, he's potted a yellow, but you can't see any of the yellows.
That gives us a better idea. So,
Yellow balls in play.
and that's because he lost the white ball there a little bit. So that he's literally only got that red in the thin cut into the middle right-hand pocket as a starting option. I wonder if
What can you see?
I
Can
can
you
see
see
the
this
yellow.
yellow?
Maybe you can see the yellow there, just underneath by the black. Ooh,
Well, he could evidently see enough of it to pot it because he hit it too thick.
well, that wasn't close at all, was it? That was very unlike Mick Hill there.
Yes, you don't often see him bash a ball into the jaw of the
Absolutely.
pocket.
Can't remember last time he missed a ball by that much.
So Phil comes to the table on reds. Problem is the ones at the top of the table, those two in the top left-hand corner. I don't think that was a plant towards the corner, so he's got to do something with those. The ones down this end are nice enough. He's got plenty of choices for a starter.
7 seconds.
Phil Harrison was a model of consistency. His record in recent UK tours has been exemplary. Every time he seems to be in the final or thereabouts.
He's probably just overrun that positional shot by a couple of inches. He wanted to be dead straight. He's unfortunately now going to lose the white a little bit because he wanted to. Well, it looks like he might be looking to hit the red off the other reds to open them up.
Yeah,
I think if he rolls it in, he won't be able to go for the plants because the two yellows are going to get in the way.
Those reds aren't brilliantly placed. He's going to need a very thin, glancing
30 seconds.
clip on them. It's very easy to mess this up.
He's got to decide which one to go for. Normally the furthest one.
Yeah, you'd think the far one, but he's going to hit it very thin. Yeah, that was always the
that's
risk.
Danger with that.
Yeah, how's it finished up?
Has Mick pop that one that's closest to into the middle pocket? Because that will be a massive advantage if he can.
Yeah, if he can, he'll only have the one difficult one, and it won't be
that a
that
look?
hard.
Difficult shot.
30 seconds.
So evidently couldn't pot that one there. Choice of doubling it or looking to drop behind them at some stage.
It's great with hindsight, but I think possibly Phil should have just gone for the normal pot because he still had other options down the table to then go back up for those two slightly trickier ones.
Yeah, I must say I didn't like that. Often playing one ball off another to open a pocket is the way to go, but there it wasn't really right there, I don't think.
But it is one of those shots, if you play it and it works, it's the right
Yeah,
shot.
everyone says
And
you're
if
a
it
genius.
doesn't, then hindsight, it's the wrong shot.
Yeah, it's very easy for us to sit here saying we didn't think that was a good idea. The options were a little bit limited. So Mick thinks this one does pot in the middle, so he's played across for it.
Behind the black.
It must have potted when he was on it beforehand.
Yeah, maybe it was just too close. He was looking at the one that's nearer the cushion, but I would assume he's going to take the outside one. If he can take the inside one, that would be even better, but that looks a very tight angle. Yeah, I think he is going for the inside one.
That's a great shot.
Well, that's opened the whole thing up suddenly. And this is what Mick can do to you. You can be in a position where you think surely he can't clear up from there.
And I think that's why Phil went for that shot in the first place, because he felt he had the element of safety the way Mick's yellow balls were.
And even there, I mean, yes, that was a simple shot into the middle, but he's played the positional side of it just perfectly.
Just wants to leave the white sort of towards the middle-ish of the table so you can screw back for the black. You can have the black in both pockets here. Ideally, he wanted to be a bit more out in the open, I would imagine.
Yeah, if those two reds weren't there, he could just play it around the two cushions, but he can't really do that, I don't think. He's going to have to screw straight back. Well, that'll work.
He was happy with that kiss. Wasn't planning it that way, but he won't be complaining.
So, black ball down. Mick Hill again ahead by the odd frame, now leads by 8 frames to 7.
Oh, she's left it up.
Starting to look quite dangerous. You still think Mick looks slightly the more dangerous of the two players in amongst the balls.
You feel he's got more control on the white ball, don't you, when it comes to clearing up? Phil doesn't seem to have the white ball on a shoestring just like Mick does at the moment.
No, which is unusual for Phil. He's normally pretty tight with the white.
But to be fair, he's got the break. If he breaks and dishes, it's 8 all again, so Phil's right in it.
16 fell to break, trailing 8 frames to 7. Time running.
So, having slipped behind again by the odd frame, it's Phil Harrison to break in frame 16, trailing by 7 frames to 8.
Oh, he scratched out there. He did put a ball off the break.
Look
Oh,
at
look
this.
at these balls.
Look at this split. This is going to take Mick Hill about 30 seconds to finish it.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Put it down. Let me do it.
What was the favourite table? Time running.
Mick couldn't have asked for a better table here.
That's
There's
ridiculous.
an argument to go for either colour here, to be
This is
fair.
like a practice position.
I think you'd just take
Yeah.
the reds because there's just no traffic in the way here, so... But the yellows is just as easy, to be fair.
Whilst this is generally famous last words to do this kind of thing, I cannot see any way he doesn't clear it from here.
Yep. You can chalk the win on this frame already,
Yes.
if I were you.
And that's heartbreaking for Phil. He knows these would have been his. If that cue ball is pretty much anywhere on the table, he clears it. But that's the nature of it. You've got to keep the cue ball on the table.
You can see a lot of the players that have been playing in this World Championship watching eagerly this final.
Yeah, lots of support, of course, for both of these players. They've both been around a long time, so got lots of friends in the pool community.
Ooh, that I was going to say, that was the only potential for him.
I don't believe it.
I do not expect him to miss that shot there.
I think he just thought he couldn't miss it.
Yeah,
He's actually been pretty fortunate. If he snookered Phil off the ball on top right.
I think he can see that one. The front shot will give us an idea. It's very close. I think with a touch of side, he'll be able to get to it.
I don't know, I think it is it. I think it is going to be with a fair bit of side though.
Oh, wow. The last couple of frames, that's missing a couple of balls now, which we haven't seen in the previous frames.
Yeah, so you see he's having to swerve around this
He is.
ball. Oh, has he done too much? No, it's
He's
okay.
played it well.
Well, we said these could have been Phil's if he'd potted off the break. These could still be Phil's. Well, Phil can owe me afterwards for putting the commentator's curse on Mick Hill there. Those looked absolutely unmissable. Given some of the clearances he's taken, which have been so much more difficult.
I do apologise to Mick Hill fans for having said that we can chalk the win on this one. Giving them the curse on that one. But again, there's very little work to be done on here.
No, just got to keep his concentration, roll this one in, then he'll have the other one automatically into the opposite corner.
Just got to give himself an angle for the yellow that's on the right-hand cushion near the bottom to come across to put the other yellow in the same pocket.
He actually doesn't look very comfortable with this shot. I think he's worried the white might run away onto the side cushion, but should still be fine.
Yeah, he'll be fine whichever way. He won't mind the white being too close to the side cushion here because he'll have the perfect angle just to stun it across and leave himself perfect for the other yellow.
Ideally, I don't know.
He probably just doesn't want to be straight here because if he's straight, that, as you can see, that yellow doesn't go into any of the left-hand pockets.
Yeah, I think he also wants to try and get close to the one that's on the right-hand side. If he's got any angle and can screw down the table, this should be pretty simple. Depends how straight this yellow that he's about to pot is.
Set the second.
So Phil couldn't do that much. Now he's left this quite straight. Has he got enough angle to screw across? Looks like he might just have the angle. This is pretty tight though. This ball isn't far off being straight.
Big shot in this match, this one.
It's got down relatively quickly for this. Oh!
Didn't get into it enough.
Yeah, it was a bit straight. He was just trying to force it. He didn't get through it properly. Well, what a let-off. It's been a huge let-off from Mick to let Phil in, and now it looks like he's thrown it straight back.
This now becomes a massive frame. Whoever's going to lose this is going to be gutted, this frame.
I think if Phil loses this as well, that could be
In the ladies'
close
final,
to being the writing on the wall.
ladies' final, Sharon James is 7-5 up, first to 8, and she's actually got 2 visits with just 3 balls left to pot, so she's got a great chance to become world champion for the first time. So he's going to try and come off the cushion and cut this yellow in from the looks of things. These shots are always difficult.
Yeah, I mean, he'll hit it obviously, but to knock it in, it's not a high percentage shot.
Missed it completely.
Well, I say hit it obviously, it won't.
Not that Mick needs 2 visits,
yeah,
but
it makes very little difference. He'd be clearing up anyway. So this frame gone for Phil Harrison. It looks like Mick's going to have a 2-frame advantage. Also, psychologically, Mick would have been feeling so bad after he messed that up if Phil had been able to punish him, but now it'd be pretty easy to forget that bad missed pot on the left-hand side. Phil Harrison's so close, but he's going to have to do this the hard way if he's going to win this title.
2-frame lead at this stage of the match is massive now, and he's got the break in the next one as well. If he's got a ball off the break, he's got a great chance to get on the hill if he can clear up there, but yes, currently 9 frames to 7 to Mick Hill, first to 11.
And over the other side of the arena, Sharon James leading by 7 frames to 5 in the race to 8 in the ladies' final. She's just about to get down to take the final black, but it's not an easy one. So she's composing herself, getting down now. And she's missed it.
Lifeline for Barbara Taylor in that match.
Yeah, it's a terrible feeling. She knows now she's had a black to win the world title. Will she get another chance?
So George trying to set the pack up nice and tight for Mick Hill. His break has improved over the last few break-off shots that he's done. We'll be hoping for the same kind of progress. Ideally would like the white to be in the middle of the table this time.
Yes, where he left it last time didn't make life easy. So, big powerful break. Is anything going in though? Yes, it is. Red
So
ball
let's have a
down.
look. Does that yellow go past the red down the bottom? It looks like it does. Again, there's an argument for both. They're going for yellows because they're tying up the black. I think would make life easier, but as I said, there's option for both here at this stage.
Well, that's out of sight. It's not quite as easy as he'd have liked, but it's a chance. And it's an easier chance when you're 9-7 up than when you're 9-7 down, for sure. Crowd starting to build. Also spectators on both sides of the table, or on both sides of the arena, on the far side of the ladies' table and on the right of this table.
Oof.
Wow.
That's the third ball he's missed in the last few frames now.
Yeah, it's not quite as bad as the miss in the last frame, but still.
It's an open table now, so Phil has the option of both colours.
Yeah, as you were saying a moment ago, this hasn't quite hit the same heights. The semi-finals, they were both so clinical. Here, there's been a couple of slightly scrappy mistakes.
But sometimes these matches have far better tension for the viewers to watch,
Absolutely.
rather than just breaking dishing all the time for fun.
Well, look at that last frame. We were complacently chalking it up to Mick Hill. We'd then probably have given it to Phil Harrison, but then 2 twists in the tail. So, of course, Mick going for yellows when he hadn't potted a yellow off the break, so Phil came to an open table. And this is a frame he absolutely must win. If he lets Mick get to 10 while he's still back on 7, that's going to be too much to do, you'd have to feel. Whereas if he wins this one, back at 9-8, it's still anyone's game again. When your opponent still needs 2 for victory, you at least feel like you've got a little bit of breathing space.
30 seconds.
Well, he's wearing out the carpet around the table. He's been round to look at this from every angle. Still doesn't really like it.
There's those 2 yellows around the black. He just needs to get perfect position on those. Work out the order he's going to put these yellows.
So again, using up the time. Only a few seconds left. Got to get this shot played. It's only a fairly generous time limit, 60 seconds. We've seen a move to having time limits more often in sport these days. Snooker has some 25-second shot clocks for things.
Yeah, I can see the shot clock going down in pool, to be honest. I think probably about 40 seconds would be about the right time, really.
Pool is there's sometimes a bit more to think about. Snooker, not to suggest that snooker is an easier game in any way, but it tends to have patterns that repeat more often, whereas pool, there can sometimes be individual things to think about.
But the idea of shorter time with possibly one extension wouldn't be a bad idea.
No, as long as you have an extension, it just becomes a little bit difficult sometimes to monitor. You need somebody to do the timekeeping, which is fine for major finals like this, but a bit laborious in something like a county match.
I think that yellow to the left of the black flies into the top left-hand pocket. So all these balls do go in, it's just getting the perfect position. It looks like he's just underscrewed that one slightly, so he's already got a minor problem here. He's played it well.
Yeah, he's played that really well. It's quite difficult to avoid all the traffic there. It's not completely out of the woods though.
Shot just to screw it back a bit, leaving the other yellow into the right-hand middle pocket. On the other table, Barbara Taylor's managed to make the most of Sharon missing that black, and it's now 7-6 to Sharon, first to 8.
So both matches going the distance. It's worked out pretty well. The fact both matches are going on at the same time and are both going the distance, it's building the atmosphere in the arena.
Phil did not want to screw the ball onto the cushion there, so he's put a lot of pressure on himself now on this shot.
Yeah, he's left the pot difficult, and he's also no longer a guaranteed position on the black. I think he may have to try and kind of brush off it.
Yeah, does he have to go for the long pot and follow through? Does that black go into the bottom right hand pocket? We'll see what he does. He's playing this really quickly though.
Oh, good shot, but has he slipped behind that red?
I think he can just see it. Yeah, he
Oh, he'll
definitely
be
does see it.
relieved. Yeah, it's a thin clip, but it's one that shouldn't be a problem. The white's flying around, but isn't going anywhere near a pocket.
Yep, great shot there by Phil. So it brings it back to 1 frame in it. Mick Hill now leading by 9 frames to 8.
Well, whichever player does go on to win, they've both made a decent game of this. I think they'll both feel they could already have won the match. So
Absolutely.
There'll be an element of disappointment whoever loses.
Yep.
There's always an element of disappointment, of course, losing in a world final. But I don't know if I can't think of an occasion Mick's actually lost in the final before.
I can't either.
I don't know, he may have
We
done
need
in
a
his early days.
statistician to tell us that fact there.
He did. I remember back in the late 90s, early 2000s, it took him a while to win. I think he won his first title in about 04. He'd been one of the preeminent players in the world for a few years, and everyone had been tipping him as a winner before that moment. It took him a little while to win the first one, so maybe he did in those days, but in recent years he's made it look pretty easy. He just reached the final and win it. Gareth Potts, of course, was the first player to reach 3 world titles, but Mick surpassed that record a little while ago now. Phil Harrison then to break in frame 18.
Felt to break,
Still trailing by 1 frame, but it could be worse. He's clawed 1 back. He's now only 8-9 behind.
Yeah, so Phil Harrison, having won the World Championship in 2009. Mick Hill was the first person last year to win it on 4 occasions. When he first won it in 2004, followed it up in 2010, and then more recently 2015 and 2017. So he's also looking to win it 3 times in 4 years, which is some record.
It's been a pretty good record. He had a couple of years away from the tournament. He was off playing American pool and some other things, but he's come back in a big way recently, which I'm not sure will be that welcome for the other players. It's now rather narrowed the field of potential winners.
But on top of that, he has actually made the final on 2 other occasions, because he lost to Gareth Potts in 2007 and lost to Phil Harrison. So this is the 3rd time they're meeting in the finals. In 2009, the only time Phil Harrison won it was when he beat Mick Hill in the final. So this is now Mick's 7th world final, which is comfortably a record.
It's been impressive longevity. Now, has Mick gone in off it? No, the cue ball's pulled up in time. That will be a relief. That could have turned out calamitously badly if that had gone in. Not in prime position though. May still have a yellow to the centre.
Seconds.
Yeah, he did have a yellow to the centre. He's got this one yellow that down the bottom right hand end of the table, a little bit covered up, although maybe possible to get to it. And of course the black ultimately could be an issue because that's kind of tight to the cushion at the moment. A relatively comfortable run to the final. Mick Hill hasn't lost more than 4 frames in any of his previous 5 matches in this tournament. Beat Danny Davies 8-4 in the last 64. Paul Clack of Australia 8-2 in the last 32. David McQuillan of Ireland 8-4 in the last 16. And then met a couple of the big English players. Giuseppe D'Imperio defeated 9-4 in the quarters. That was a big result for him, and then followed that up yesterday with a 10-3 win over Eddie Barker. He played really well in that match. Eddie Barker's a tough player and had very little chance.
So this is the first close match he's had all tournament then, isn't it?
Yeah, he's already conceded twice as many frames as in any of his previous matches.
Yeah, Phil's definitely trying to level the match up here at 9-all. A couple of tricky balls there, the red at the top and the black on the side.
Phil Harrison's been pushed a bit further on his route to the final. And actually quite a tough opening match against a lesser known player, Wasim Olite of Mauritius, 8-5 in the last 64. That could have been a banana skin. Then beaten some well established players since then. Matt Brearley, who's established himself as a force on the UK tour recently, was an 8-6 victim to Phil.
Ooh, he got stuck on that one and can't see it. It looks like it by his reaction.
Wow, what a place to end up.
He was trying to nudge the black out into a more open position, but you couldn't have foreseen him touching there. And actually, I'm not sure that red goes anywhere either on the to the left of it as we see it. It doesn't look like it's touching, so I wonder if you can just do a little swerve shot to just get round it and put that red in the middle still.
This is the difference. If that's 2 millimetres away from that ball, these are all roll-ins, but apart from the black, of course. But that's really changed the complexion of things. So, what's he going to do? Is he going to have to bend it, or can he just borrow a bit of the pocket? Oh, he
It
could.
does go. It just
Unnecessary head
expression
shake,
sort of-
yes.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, even from the overhead angle, it did look very tight. Just playing with us. So, the only issue is going to be the black, which you assume he's going to just have to double in the middle pocket. It's in a position where, if he just leaves, if the white was somewhere near where it is now, somewhere near the centre line of the table, it's a relatively simple back double into the opposite middle. There's of course also the problem of the ball he's just played on. Almost got a bit too close to that, but that's okay.
Yeah.
That ball, it's important to get out of the way because it doesn't offer as ready position as the other ones.
I think he's just got enough angle to bring the white back up to the middle of the table. That's where he's looking to get to. He's got to hit this right because they do rattle if he just misses it by a couple of millimetres. He's just waiting for Barbara Taylor to play her shot on the left-hand table.
While he does that, let's continue with his record to this final. Beat Matt Braley 8-6 in the last 32. David Rothall of Australia was his victim, 8-3 in the last 16. And then two very promising, very strong England players. Oh, as he's jawed it.
Instead, a couple of millimetres and it stayed up.
So, opportunity for Mick Hill.
Work to be done here though.
Phil Harrison defeating Mike King 9-3 in the quarterfinals. And Josh Kane, last year's Masters champion, 10-5 in the semi-finals. So both of these players have played some decent opposition, as you'd expect en route to this final. But this match was always the final that everyone was looking forward to, the number 1 and number 2 seeds. I wouldn't say it's disappointed, it's been a very entertaining final. It perhaps hasn't hit quite the heights that it might have done so far. Oh, good effort from Mick Hill.
I think that's actually landed
That may be worse
even
though.
harder now.
Yeah,
Probably the safest place on the table, that
it
black.
was okay as a double before, but it's not okay, I don't think now. Does it drop in the middle? He's just having a hard look.
It doesn't look like it from this angle.
And it's not like that's the only problem either, because he's still got this yellow on the right hand side of the table near the baulk line that he's got to do something with. So now this isn't so straightforward.
Well, in the ladies' final, we've got a one-frame shootout. They're Hill at 7 each. So Barbara's come back well after Sharon had a black to win it 8-5.
And how heartbreaking would that be to miss a black for the world title? Will she get another chance? She held herself together very well in the decider of the semi-final, so no stranger to pressure, but if there was a lot of pressure on that, there's even more pressure on this. Somehow, whatever recognition you get within the pool community, and both of these players have a lot, the cachet of a world title is pretty hard to beat.
He's going to have to work out what to do with the black here.
30 seconds.
Yeah, it's now not in an easy place to cannon either. He hasn't really got any balls that are going to get to it. And of course, this is assuming he deals with the yellow. He's also still got the problem of the yellow on the right.
He's got a good position there. He's a bit unlucky to be tight on the cushion.
Yeah,
He's ideally wanted to be just a little bit off the cushion.
he's got a problem here though.
It looks like it must drop in the middle pocket if he can get just behind it, underneath it, as we look at it.
Has he got the right angle? Because if it's not
No,
the
now
natural
he's
angle, it's
looking.
going to be hard.
If he goes down the cushion the way he's looking, he needs that white to be tight on the cushion as well.
Oh yeah, it does look like it might drop in, although it's incredibly tight, isn't it?
He wants to be tight on the cushion. It's not too bad. It's made it a little bit harder. If he was touching the cushion, it would be a far simpler shot. But the way the reds are lying,
Well, he's down to play it quickly.
it's close.
Oh, that's
Great
a
shot.
class shot from Mick Hill. That's a difficult pot. It doesn't come much harder than that.
Puts him one frame away with 3 to play, and he's actually got the break in 2 of those. So he suddenly becomes massive favourite now to become world champion for the 5th time.
Wow, it's a game of fine margins. He only just got onto that black, but he hit it so well down the cushion. So heartbreak for Phil Harrison. That could have been 9-all, but that went south. It's now 10-8 to Mick Hill, and he only needs one of the next 3 frames. Can anyone stop him from this position? Phil Harrison's done it once, as we've just learnt in a final back in 2009. That was a long time ago though.
Mick Hill did it once last year, so it's a decider in effect in the best of 3 for them in finals.
If points were awarded for consistency, Phil Harrison would have been a multiple world champion, because he's been knocking on the door of the title for a long time. He was a strong contender for years and years before he finally won it, and ever since he won it, he's been back in the final, he's been in the semis, he's been in the quarters.
He's desperate to win it a second time, because I think to really be called a great in the world of pool, you do need to win it that second time to be a multiple world champion. So he's putted a yellow off the break straight away. How are the rest of the balls looking? There's a bit of congestion in the bottom right hand pocket. But actually, do you know what? Oh, can he see it? Is there the gap there?
I think this could be okay. There are ways of opening up each colour around that bottom corner.
I think ideally he wanted reds, but yeah, we'll have to see what he decides to do. As you said, there are options to open the balls up there, but both fraught with danger as well.
Yeah, this is by no means a certain clearance, but then this is 10-8 of the world final. We'd like a bit of tension. The players wouldn't, but the crowd are certainly enjoying it. And the tension, of course, on the other side of the arena where the deciding frame is being played.
So he's missed the first shot there.
So he's potted a red off the break. That means he is on reds. So gives Phil Harrison the option of what to do with the yellows. If he was down the other end of the table, the left as we look at it, the options will be a bit greater. From where he is, there's not that much he can do. May have to just try to tie things up in the bottom left a bit tighter.
Played that well.
Well, yes, he has.
He left a 3-ball plant.
Yeah, I'm not sure he's going to be too happy with that. Although, at least he's left things relatively difficult for me. The 3-ball plant, of course, not a certainty. I think it's a certainty to pot the red, but would have to control what happened to the other red.
And on the ladies' table, Barbara Taylor is 1 yellow and a black away from becoming world champion for the first time. So both approaching the end of the matches here.
Yeah, either of those ladies would be a worthy winner, as would either of these gentlemen.
So Mick's going for it here.
So this is the frame he needs to win the world title.
He's going to go for it.
The first of his 3 opportunities potentially. If he can see this red.
Barbara did pop that yellow, but she went in off, so now Sharon's got 2 visits with 5 reds and the black left to become world champion herself.
Oh, great shot from Mick
Great
Hill.
shot from Mick.
So, all the balls are here. Mick knows that this could be his chance. He's got 3 chances potentially, but much better to do it with the first one.
This is such a good chance. There's no danger balls at all.
This is a
They're just all
gilt-edged
roll-ins.
opportunity for a 5th world title for Mick Hill.
All roll-ins, because all the yellows are in the bottom right-hand corner. Nicely out of the way. I think Mick's deserved it. If he does win here, he's made less unforced errors than Phil
Yeah,
overall.
he's just had a bit more, hasn't he? Phil had his chances, but didn't completely capitalise every time, whereas Mick's made a couple of unforced errors, but on the whole, he's been the stronger player amongst the balls. And now cements his place as one of the greatest, if not the greatest of all time.
Absolutely, 5-time world champion once this black goes in.
The black's down and he's done it. Mick Hill wins a record 5th world title. Warm congratulations from his opponent and good friend Phil Harrison. Acknowledges the crowd. What a great performance. Didn't do it the easy way, he didn't have the brake working as he'd have wanted, but held himself together. And a very enjoyable final, if not the fast-packed action we perhaps expected. Commiserations to Phil Harrison, he's played a massive part in this tournament as he always does, and he's played a massive part in this final. But every congratulations to Mick Hill, he prevails by 11 frames to 8.
Trial in the ladies section, the deciding frame win for your 2018 ladies individual champion from England, Barbara Taylor. And commiserations to Sharon James, also of England.
Ladies and gentlemen, these two finals have both finished simultaneously, so conveniently, please a big round of applause for both the finals, the ladies and the gents. Two wonderful matches. And now, I'd just like to present the winner and the ladies champion for 2018. She's been trying for a few years, Barbara Taylor. I think it's appropriate that you say a few words. Thank you.
That's it. I'll smile.
And I know Mike Perkins has already announced it, but please, one more time for Sandra James. Wonderful effort. We're going to mark that for the back. Sharon James. And now for the men's. First of all, a big round of applause. A wonderful final, once again from these two great players, for Phil Harrison and Mick Hill. So, wonderful effort, Phil. But once again, he got pipped. I know he won it a couple of times, but this guy just seems to finish across the line a little bit more times than others. Big round of applause, ladies and gentlemen, for the runner-up, Phil Harrison. And now, this gentleman has won this trophy more than any other player on the planet. He'd already won it 4 times, more than anyone, and now it's number 5. Ladies and gentlemen, World Champion 2018, Mick Hill!
Right, you know I like the sound of my own voice, so I'll say a few words. It's kind of a strange ending because obviously I'm on the black. I'm looking over there and I'm seeing the ladies final decide as well. I'm sort of thinking, just pop the black and just sit down out of the way. You know what I mean? And kind of let that finish. So it feels like when I was clearing up, it was almost a bit like kind of. Yeah, I had half an eye on that as well. It was a bit strange, but yeah, back to our match. I think think, in all honesty, Phil will probably look and think the first session I got out of it 5 each. You know, I did make some good clearances, but I think somebody at Phil's level probably thinks I'm supposed to be 7-3. So I got out of there at 5 each. I was over the moon really, and then sort of when it got to the back end, it felt like a couple of old soldiers who were just trying to get it done really. It's not many people sort of kind of can relate to it, but as you get older you get more nervous, and the nerves just get more and more and more, and you start second guessing what you're doing. 9-7, I've got 7 balls over the pocket and somehow couldn't get out because I've just taught myself out of it and got away with it, come back to the table and so on and so on and so on. So sometimes, like, you know, we're out there and, you know, me and Phil are best of friends, and, you know, we at the World Championships we root together, and we've had breakfast together, we're laughing and joking before the finals happening, and even through the final we're laughing and joking, and kind of, you're half doing it because you're so nervous, then you want to kind of like play it down and this and the other, but yeah, turn me up, have you?
Time foul!
Boring everyone, is that what it is? But no, you know, you got the World Championships, and what a lot of overseas players don't always see, even though you got the stream and everything, Phil's arguably been the best player in the world for the last 4 or 5 years. And I feel like a bit of a fraud because I'm coming here in the final.
You are?
Yeah. But particularly on the 8-foot table last year, I felt like, oh, this is a little bit, it doesn't quite feel right. We come back to the 7-foot table, well, the first time on the 7-foot table, and at least I feel like I have beat Phil, who I do think is the best player, and he has been for the last 4 or 5 years. So at least I've now done it on what I perceive to be a genuine match on a 7-foot table. So, as I said, not many sort of people know that, you know, he wins every week. Every tournament he goes to it, that he wins. I didn't want it to go close because I thought I'm probably going to choke and he'll knock him in, kind of thing. But yeah, I'd love to feel like a bit gutted for him, but it is what it is. And you know, thanks to everybody for the support that I've had and for the event, and the old cliche, I suppose I'll be back next year.
Congratulations once again, Mick. To the referees, timekeepers, all the administrations, the English Ball Association. It's been a wonderful championships once again. And again, to the 2 champions today, Barbara Taylor and Mick, a massive round of applause.